Let's do this, donks. Good Lord. I look like shit. I look terrible. My God. What the hell was I looking at in the mirror before getting on air? All right, well, what's done is done. All right, let's make sure all this is working the way that it's supposed to. Yeah, it is. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome. This is the Rousey versus Carano live stream. Kenny Cross is about to fight Saladin Parnasse, which I called not Kenny's last fight, but the one before that. I thought he would have been signed by the UFC by now. He has not. But here he is tonight. He's going up against a tough opponent in Saladin Parnasse, who is easily has a case as being the most exciting prospect outside of the UFC in any weight class, in any organization, in any country. I'm not saying that he's definitively that, but he has a case for that. So this is a tough fight for Kenny. However, the odds don't reflect it. Parnasse should win, but this could be a fun fight. I think Kenny's being a little bit slept on here. I guess we'll see. Thumbs up if you're watching. Ooh, you know what? Let's get this thing ready for everybody. Oops, hold on. Let me change the scene here. I apologize. All right, hang on. There we go. I'm back. Don't worry. I'm here. All right. Intros have been made. I'll have some thoughts about the broadcast. If you want a question or a comment on the screen, you want to support the channel, put a super chat donation in there. By the way, the feed looks crispy as shit to me. I don't know what is going on with this Netflix feed versus my Paramount Plus feed, but this one looks so much better. All right, here we go. Kenny the Boss Cross. Nice guy, by the way. Jason Herzog, your referee. They're fighting in a hexagon and a small one at that. There we go. Let's do it. Two southpaws, at least for now. Caught kick by Parnasse, and he turns it over, puts Kenny on his feet, but Kenny gets up right away. He has a wrestling background. And looks like he has double unders here on Parnasse. He's trying to change levels. Parnasse with a good split. Underhook, hard underhook on that left side from Parnasse. Nevertheless, transitions to a single by Cross. Parnasse is up again off the underhook. Front headlock. Parnasse peels it. Fun little exchange between these two to start this round. Cross looks like he's fishing for a trip or the ability to take him over to his left side. Parnasse now has double underhooks. He should turn him off the fence. Right on cue. Parnasse, I think, should separate here. He wants to go for a takedown. Nope, he goes to the back. Oh, Kenny tries to reverse. Parnasse gets on top. This is fun. It's a fun little scramble. What do you guys think about the black mat? I don't hate it, but it's definitely not my favorite. They're using the right kind of texture for the mat, but it's got this you see a lot of black mats on regional MMA, and it's not my favorite. But to each his own, it's not the end of the world. And it's possible Netflix might have requested it due to blood. You might say, oh, no, they wouldn't do that. All right, they're still just kind of jockeying along the fence here about 2 minutes into the first. I'd like to see some separation. Or, okay, there we go. Great jab from Cross, but he puts his back up to the fence rather than pushing him backwards. Man, they're fast. Oh, Parnasse nearly destroyed him with the left hand, a big overhand left. Bro, they're getting after it. Crosses in on a head outside single. Parnasse turns him off the underhook. Bro, the fucking back on Parnasse. Jesus Christ. My man is in the fucking gym doing rows. Oh, great single leg dump. Uh-oh. And it looks like some of these shots on the ground are fucking Cross up. Yep, they sure are. Cross trying to turn into it. He's going to get mounted. Right on cue. That cross face is going to have to do some work, but he might turn here. Let's see if he can get the body triangle. That's probably going to win him the round, right? Let's see. All right, he's trying to get chest to back asymmetry. He might be able to get it here. He's got 2-on-1 on this baseball bat grip. Parnas is going to let go. He's going to come up on top, however, and there's a choke there. Well, okay, and you can transition as well easily. Man, Parnas is strong with his hips, bro. Like Kenny's squirmy underneath here, and well, a little bit to the back of the head there. That was a little bit to the back of the head. Parnas being a little bit wild about punch location, but he's about to close the show here, I think. Oof, maybe an accidental headbutt. Cross isn't. Yeah, man, Cross is just not there. He's hanging on. He's hanging on. Oh, hard body shot. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. Damn, bro. That was kind of fun. That was kind of fun. Saladin Parnas, ladies and gentlemen. I've been talking about him for a while. Lots of people have. Hardly some exclusive, but you look. I mean, look at him. My man is, bro. Is everyone on this card on some kind of Chinese peptide? The weigh-ins yesterday, every single one of them looked like. Oh, are y'all buying all the peptides from all the donks in China making stuff? You know, and maybe it's a laboratory, maybe it's a bathtub. You don't really know, but I guess it works. Holy shit! Holy shit, man. And of course, I'm speaking hypothetically. I'm not making accusations. I'm just asking aloud, you know, perhaps rhetorically and for fun. But yeah, Parnas is legit, man. Like, I hope everyone can see that now. This fucking guy's awesome. I have had some conversations with some. I'll leave it like this: people in the industry who would definitely know. And I've asked those people, why hasn't UFC signed Parnas? And then part of it was the pay. Part of it was the pay issue. But I don't think that's the only issue. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, dude, look at this. I mean, and he got a little wild too, and there's a little bit of an inadvertent headbutt. Cross is trying to survive. He's throwing. He's moving. He's moving his head into you, but then that body shot hurt him. Boom. Wait, let's see. Oh, they fucking. All right. All right. How y'all doing? Now, I got to tell you something. Let's talk about this. Let's reset. Hello, everyone. Luke Thomas here. Let's reset a little bit. Now, the prelim stream. The prelim stream for this event, which, by the way, looked good. There was a weird-ass fight between Adriano Moraes and Puni Nakuda. Putting that aside, there were not quite, but there was nearly 400,000 concurrent viewers for that. Now, I'm not declaring to you that that number is not real, but a lot of times these streams can be juiced. The numbers can be juiced by bots or by, you know, other services. I'm not necessarily making an accusation about that, but what I am going to say is I would like to see other pieces of evidence from around the community that shows that, like, oh, that's not, because if you look at like the traffic for like even Rousey's interviews or like any of this stuff, it's not like doing gangbusters, you know, but it's like, okay, well, how many people, like, I mean, this fight is weird because you're like, okay, well, we don't really care how many hardcore MMA fans we're looking to see outside of that. I don't know. Dude, as somebody who's covered big Rousey fights before, this is one of the weirder ones. It doesn't feel like the other ones, but that I'm not saying it's doom and gloom. I'm just pointing out, let's see what kind of numbers like you see around people's content. Does it do normal to what they normally do? Is there, you know, does this thing fill up much further than what it is now in terms of the attendance, which is kind of light right now? You know, I want to see other pieces of evidence because that came out of nowhere to me. And I thought that was, again, I'm not going to use the word suspicious, but what I guess I am going to say is, you know, trust but verify, right? The old Ronald Reagan line. Because that seemed just, you know, it's like, wow, that's a huge number. Why would that do a huge number? And most of the other stuff to this point related to this event has not necessarily done that. There's Kenny Cross. By the way, who's also fucking chiseled out of stone. Oh, he's crying. Poor bastard. He's a good kid, man. That's a tough fight to get. It's a tough assignment to draw, man. You're fighting a guy who is, it would not be the least bit shocked if that guy is a UFC champion. That would not be a surprise. Here's Eric. I have been mute. I'm not looking for beef, but I've been muting this broadcast a lot. I'll just be honest with you. All right, here's the interpreter. Ariel's question is that how you expected the fight to play out? Why are you speaking French back to us? Why would you as the interpreter speak French back to us? Are they trying to do it for the home? Like, people watching in France, they'll understand him. You don't have to say it twice in French. The fuck are you doing? Oh, that body shot was vicious. That right hand was. But he can tee off on him because look at how covered up Kenny is. Kenny's just kind of hanging on at the end there, That's not real defense. You got to fire. Oh, but he dug that one. Fucking hell. Let's see if this fucking dumbass French interpreter repeats French back to us. Okay, there we go. Got that one right. She glitched out for a second there. That was wild. All right, Mr. Reed, welcome to the party. Michael, welcome to the party. Justin says, a lot of fans dressed up as empty seats tonight. I will say this. First of all, I think Netflix's production value is fucking, dude, their picture is so crispy. The Intuit Dome looks good on camera. I mean, it's hard to tell exactly how many. I'm not saying it's even close to full, but it's not. It's hard to get a beat on exactly how unfull it is. I'm not so sure. It does look good on Netflix. I will say that. I thought that it looks good. I think Netflix is asking Ariel to do this, but these post-fight interviews to me are going a little long. But I suspect that they're asking him to do it because you've had two fights. So, if you guys in television broadcast, this happens all the time. Okay. BC and I did the weigh-ins for the first New York City weigh-ins for Tank versus Ryan Garcia, which, as you can imagine, was a big fight at the time. And we did the weigh-ins, and that these boxers are not going to show up on time. So you get to these production meetings, and the lead producer of the broadcast will say to you, he'd be like, hey, listen, these guys are not going to be here on time. It's going to be incumbent upon you to kind of just tap dance on air. You just kind of find ways to talk about shit. So there was a lot of yapping at the beginning of this broadcast, but in fairness to them, because of how poor the attendance is in person, there's just, I mean, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm just every fiber of my being is they're telling them to, we call it vamping. They're telling them to vamp because they're trying to kill time. And now you got 2 first-round stoppages and, 2 fights in and an hour in. Now, I'm not minding that pace, but given the attendance in the crowd, I realize LA might be a late attending one. I'm not entirely sure. It's kind of funny, but yeah, they're going to kill some time. And I think some of these post-fight interviews might be going a little long for the same reason. I think Netflix might be telling them, don't ask just 1 or 2 questions. Typically, the way it's been, the way I typically approach it, and I'm not saying this is in any way right or wrong, but it just tends to be useful for me, is I tend to use 3 questions as my barometer. However, that will go up if I hear the producer say, hey, throw to the footage and ask them to walk you through, if they got a sick finish or something, walk us through. Or they'll get in your ear and they'll be like, hey, ask them who they want to call out. They don't always do that in my experience, but sometimes they do that, especially for the bigger ones, main events, co-main events, things like that. But yeah, it seems to me like they're kind of being like, hey, ask this motherfucker 7 or 8 questions because there's 7 or 8 people here. You know what I'm saying? Ariel's interviewing somebody. Oh, Nikisa. Michael Irvin back there. Seems to me like a lot of advocacy for the card. Yeah, dude, they're just killing time here. All right, he's asking Nikisa if you're going to stay in the business. All right, I don't want to hear this shit. I don't really care about Nikisa. All right. Alex says, "What up, LT? You I look, dude. I look like the Wolfman's dad. I look like ass. Donkstream is a go. Thank you, sir. Thank you for being here. Did you see Wellmaker get subbed? No, I have not watched UFC. Probably shouldn't fight on any more sleeper debutantes. Yeah, that was a dude coming off the Contender Series. I think they were trying to give you. I mean, let me just say this. I'm not saying like obviously there are people come off the Contender Series and they're fucking great, but like as a general rule, it's like a decent rule of thumb. It's like a fighter who doesn't have a Wikipedia entry. Sometimes those guys are hammers. Most of the time they're not. If you lose to a guy making his debut off the Contender Series, there's probably a real ceiling that you have, especially if you're in your 30s. Not trying to stir the pot. So far, I'm enjoying the production of this main event to the Paramount cards. Kind of wish the UFC reduced events and made them feel bigger. So do I. I mean, people are like, oh, it'd be harder to do MK. Dude, if yes, that's true in its current iteration. But if there were less events, but it made Monday's MK, I mean, MK started out as a Monday only property. You know what I mean? And I'm saying, I'm not like dying to get back to that. I'm just saying if it had to go back to that, we could do that too. We could do that too. That would not be a thing that we couldn't do. Luke, any chance MVP could get OAM out of retirement to fight Parnas? I know he hasn't fought in years, but he was a hell of a fight. He was on a hell of a run. I mean, that guy's a little old by now. I don't know about that's the best idea. I did like him, he made some money in PFL, but what do you think about the black canvas? So I was talking about this earlier. The black canvas is often something you'll see on regional MMA. But the difference is that they'll have like the kind of shiny one that reflects, which is slicker, rather than what you have here, which is almost the same material that the UFC uses. It's like a cloth, essentially, but that it's black, and that's better. That's actually much better. I think at the end of the day, at this point, if is to me the issue with the black one. So two issues is you don't want to have like the UFC makes a very careful choice about matte color, because if you go bright white, and sometimes the Japanese would do this, it almost just blurs out a lot of other stuff that happens on the screen. Pride had some of this problem at times, actually, and subsequent efforts by Dream, less so Sengoku or World Victory Road. But so what they do is you'll notice they get like an off-white, almost like a blue, but it's a very, very mild one. And yes, blood shows up better, but so do they, right? Especially because the rubbering around the fence of the octagon is also black. Now that's good because they offset there, but to me, it's a little too much black on the screen. But the most important part is that slick stuff that you'll see on regional MMA, fighters slip on that. It actually ends up having a pretty big effect on wrestling, especially if a fight goes, the distance or something. Whereas this, you're not going to get that. So at the end of the day, it's really mostly an aesthetic choice. There is also the possibility that Netflix told them they don't really want a lot of blood on the mat, so they could have picked black for that reason. I don't really know. I don't like it that much, but it's not as long as the material is right. It's mostly just an aesthetic choice. You decide how you feel about it. Luke, have you ever watched RAF? Sure. I want to go to one of them. I haven't done it yet, but I would like to. Not a fan of the black mat, but otherwise the broadcast is clean and pacing hasn't been too bad. Comes off more polished than UFC these days. So, I mean, they're having audio issues just now. That Nikisa and Ariel interview, you could hear it you could hear the house reverberate. But I will say visually, it looks big and exciting and bold and colorful and loud. All right, here's Francis and Felipe Lins. Dude, if this thing ends up being, I don't know that it will be, but if this thing ends up being like 5 first-round finishes, I don't think we want that. I think we want a little bit of back and forth, Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz if he trains seriously 1 year. Let me just say this, dude. I think we need to see if Nate gets by Mike Perry. And I know that's going to sound crazy. Once again, I'm not – I think Mike was a modest favorite. Nate a slight underdog. I think we need to see what happens here with Nate. Like, he's been out for a little while. He's got a lot of miles on him. I mean, obviously, as a fighter, he has done far better than Mike Perry in terms of in MMA anyway, the quality of guy he's beaten. But Mike Perry has been like making good fighters or guys with big names anyway, who are a little bit old. Eddie Alvarez, Jeremy Stevens, MVP. Dude, remember, Mike Perry knuckled up fucking MVP and won. And he was getting his ass kicked early in that fight and then just basically took control of it and certainly ended it on a strong note. Like, dude, Mike Perry's a fucking dog. I realize he got boxed up real bad by Jake Paul, but this is not boxing and this is not Jake Paul. So I before we start talking about like what Nate's next move is, I like Nate. We all like Nate. Nobody in their right mind really dislikes Nate. But dude, he's old. Like, we need to see how that goes. And I don't think that's unfair at all. Brian asks, do you think a rival promotion to the UFC can ever exist without using aged out UFC fighters? Or are we cooked? How are they going to, guys? How are they going to? The big thing that people always miss about, like, anybody can open up a show and, you want to find someone to pay you a bunch of money to put on a show and get it on TV. That's what the UFC always says. Like, we're not stopping you. And yeah, that's true. That's true. That's a true thing that they're saying. But it's also immaterial. The real magic that they have that the average fan just constantly misses, particularly when they're like bootlickers and they're really defending them, is the contracts. And the contracts are specifically designed to keep them under lock and key for long stretches of time, to make the kind of mobility that you're talking about necessary. And it would have to be mobility because they've got all the best, or not all, but the vast majority of the best ones on lock, the overwhelming amount. And so for any other upstart to come along, there's going to have to be mobility. That is where they win. And you've seen guys like Nate get out. You've seen guys like Francis get out. But like, how many guys do you routinely see at the very top end come and go? They go when they tend to fade, not when they decide, hey, I want to go test myself on the open market. That's not how any of this works. You might say, well, if Netflix comes around, you might see more of it. You might see a little bit more of it. Sure. I don't know if the UFC could stop it. Like, it's not like they can just pull a lever and then no one can go. But they introduce all of these provisions and they have all of these practices where I've had managers tell me, they've had it where a guy had 2 fights left on their deal. They would show up, on fight night. So this is, the second to last one. And on fight night or at the weigh-ins, they would go to him and be like, tell you what, we're going to give you more for this fight. And we'll pay you some more for, maybe your next one in your contract. Maybe not for the whole thing, but like, a pretty big bump that day or for that weekend, and then a pretty big bump for the next one. But now you got to sign 5, 6, 7, 8 fights. So they can just extend you out, or they have tolling provisions or injury timeouts. So they can just constantly delay and delay and delay and delay. and delay, and the contract never ends. That is the key. That is what that's more than anything else. That's the thing, dude. I mean, look at this. Like, okay, maybe this card will end up being fun. Maybe it won't. Maybe this event will be a success. Maybe it won't. But ask yourself a question. Inside North America, and to an extent in the sport generally, who is pouring money into MMA like this? The issue is not, can you find people with money and maybe even some skills as matchmakers or, talent scouts, or, the ability to have gyms that you can sign guys from. Like, you can get the money. The money, fucking one has burned through $500 million, bro. Money is not the issue. PFL, how many hundreds of millions has PFL burned through? 300 or 400 themselves? We're talking about $1 billion, not counting Affliction, not counting Elite XC, not counting IFL, not counting all the Japanese ones that had to eat shit and die the whole time. Like, dude, money, people have put money into it. That's not the problem. The problem is mobility. And as long as they have that on lock, it's a fucking wrap. It's a fucking wrap. That's why the Phil Davis lawsuit and the Misha Serkinov lawsuit, that's why they want to get the contracts changed. They don't want a penny. They want to get the contracts changed, because if you can change a contract, and I'll make up something. Imagine if they were capped at 2 years, brother. You're talking that would be an existential threat to what they did, right? That would be a thing that would completely change the industry. That would be super significant. But that's not, that hasn't happened yet. All right. Muted. These broadcasters are cheese. They're doing their best. It's a hard job. What are the odds that we get two old for MMA ladies who just plot around in our shells of their former selves, and I feel just as dirty as I did after the Tyson fight? No. You might get that from Gina. Ronda is a good athlete. She's a fucking world-class athlete. I think that you'll still see her look relevant. Again, on my Substack, right? On my Substack, we watched all of her fights, all except the Julia Budd fight. We watched all of her Zuffa Strikeforce fights. We watched all of them, and UFC, obviously. And, dude, she's a real fucking athlete, and her fights are very, very quick. The one with Tate went to the third round, but only a minute into the third round, so it was like 11 minutes total of a fight. And then the one with Holm went to the second round. She lost that one. And then the rest of them, dude, you look at the Sarah D'Alelio fight, which may have been stopped a little early, but you look at like Correia, you look at Zingano, McMahon, Alexis Davis. These fights went like fucking 20 seconds. I think it's probably going to look something similar to that, unless Carano's chances to win to me don't seem great, but I'm not going to be like, oh, she's got no shot. It's a puncher's chance, but a legit one, because you got someone who's runs in with shit and, questionable bearing under fire, I think is a good way to put that. Oh, Felipe Lin's doing the fucking throat slash. Dev, no. The Druzio. With Lesnar retiring from the WWE, do you think there's a number MVP could get to Ngannou versus Lesnar? Do you think that there is any way his contract is going to ever let him? I'd be shocked. I suspect TKO's got that fucker under lock and key. Are you kidding? Can't lie. Netflix got me to sign up on 3 different occasions. Paul Tyson, Paul Joshua, and now Rousey Carano. I mean, the fact that it's streaming and free, it makes the calculation so much different. Oh, if you had to pay for this. Yeah, I'm not paying for this. But for free? For free. Why not? Why not? Why does the announcing the fighter, then the walkout, feel so weird to watch? It gives the walkouts an odd pacing. Something the Strikeforce used to do this too. It's not my favorite, but I don't hate it either. Some places do this. You're just used to the UFC's rhythm of things, which, is not a bad rhythm either, but the Duho Choi fight was crazy. I recommend rewatching it. He won by body shot KO. He's delightful. He's delightful. Is he not? He's delightful. Also, don't forget Mike Perry knuckled Luke Rockhold into the dirt too. Yup. Checking in from Greece instead of the DMV tonight for the live chat. Damn. Welcome. I went to Athens and then some of the islands. Apparently, Armin tried to fight Fazal at his team. Yes, he did. Armin doing his level best to like prove. Armin gets up every day and he's like, what can I do to prove that all of my critics are of sound mind and judgment? What could I do today to facilitate that? And then he does. All right, here's Felipe Lins, who has clearly shaved his chest and back. I just want to say something about this show. It's actually important that this show do well on Netflix. If it doesn't draw at the gate, that's not great, but it's not the end of the world. Optics aren't great, but that's really not what's going to make or break this. What's going to make or break this is what it does on Netflix for viewership. That's what's going to make or break this. Ask yourself something. You could say these fights are frivolous, but it's fucking Netflix, okay? So it's like literally the biggest streamer in the world. Look how much money they're putting into this, okay? All of these graphics packages cost money. All that huge stage yesterday at the weigh-ins cost money. All of the fucking LED screens. Like this is a monumentally expensive thing. If the viewership fails, right? That's what this is all comes down to. Does that win or does it not win? If they win on that, great. If they don't, that's a huge problem. Because, folks, just look around for a moment, please. Okay. A sign that MMA is healthy, and I've seen this because I lived through it, is when there is sufficient appetite, even outside of the UFC, for MMA. You know, UFC's already got its own issues with audience retention, by the way. I think we all know that to be true. But it's when the contraction happens all the way around it. That's a really bad sign when that collapses. Bellator's gone. One is on its last legs. I think PFL, we'll see what kind of television deal they can get. I think Jonathan Martin is doing his best with the situation that he has. But just ask yourself, if, yes, frivolous, but big money fights on, you can say they're frivolous. Fine, let's call them frivolous. If all of that fails on Netflix, and then you say, okay, but then there's like competitive, more traditional MMA on PFL and that also fails, and Bellator's also failed, then just ask yourself, what appetite is there for MMA generally? Some for the UFC, but to watch all of that contraction that used to be quite alive, watch all of that go away, I don't know how you can look at that, marry that with the reality that year over year, and this has been going on now for several years, MMA events in the three biggest markets, Russia, Brazil, and the United States, are declining in aggregate. Okay? How could you look at all of that? So in a world where this fails, PFL is failing, one is certainly cooked, and Bellator is already gone. When you look at all of that, plus the data on the larger amount of shows that's gone, it's impossible to not draw the conclusion that this thing is contracting. So I actually think it's really important, because if PFL can't win and a thing like Netflix can't win, two very different versions of MMA, but differently capitalized, one over the long term and a more sort of a straight kind of product, one that's big spectacle, but these are very different models. If neither model works, I think that's a real fucking bad sign. Dude, if I lived through Ronda Rousey's ascension and stardom, it was, dude, she was like again, McGregor came kind of like a little bit right after that, where he peaked after that. I mean, there was overlap, obviously, but he peaked a little bit after she was gone for the most part. Dude, she's one of the biggest stars in MMA history, a game changer for the industry. If her plus Netflix, plus Jake Paul's promotion, plus all the other names on this, if all of that and PFL and one can't work, and on the regional scene, like I hear so many regional promoters who are struggling more than normal now too. That would be bad. Yeah, what UFC is going to be great for the next 7 years, but if the appetite for MMA is going like this, where's the bottom on that? I don't know the answer to that. I'm not sure I want to find out. All right, Francis is in the cage. And Felipe Lins is in the cage. And this one could go the distance now. I guess we'll see. Dana White announces Conor McGregor's return against Max Holloway in the UFC 329 main event on July 11th in Las Vegas. Of course, he's doing this to counteract the Francis Ngannou fight, right? So. All right, here's Felipe Lins. Ken Flo on the mic is great, in my opinion, he says. Too bad Cruz snitched him out. Snitched him out? What does that mean? What did he do? G Shields, thank you, my friend. Dana confirms Max versus Conor on IG. Great. Can you explain the post-bell submission? I will when I get a chance. Dana just announced Conor Max International Fight Week as Ngannou walks out. Laugh my ass off. He's the biggest hater. That's so funny. It's true. He didn't do it for Gina's fight. He did it for this one. All right, here's Francis, who also does Francis look a little leaner to you than normal? He looks like he's in fucking tremendo condition. Dude, look at him. He looks like he's in great shape. Oh, they introduced him as the lineal MMA champion. That's awesome. Good for him. He deserves that. Damn, dude, he looks fuck. Look at the split in his bicep. Fuck. All right, people inside the arena are saying it's now about 70% full. That'd be around 13,000 of an 18,300 capacity. At discounted tickets, too. All right, here we go. That's not a bad number, but it's not like a thrilling number. Yeah, bro, Francis looks fucking shredded. Let's do it. Like this shot here is beautiful, right? This like zoom in off the jib. That's what they call it. Hard leg kick from Ngannou. Spins Lins around. Oof. Francis. Oh, huge knee from Francis. He timed it on Lins. Now Lins has clinched. He needs to let go of his head here. I didn't realize Lins was a dominance MMA guy. All right, so underhook from Lins, pressing into the fence. Right. Oh, Jesus, hard knee from Francis. Francis should be able to like push this. Yes, hard knee again gets Lins to back off. Obviously, I'm not breaking any news here. A pretty significant power difference between them. Oof. Left hook from Francis. Oh, uppercut from Francis. Lins is shooting. Sprawl from Francis. Oh, Jesus, a small shot from Francis does it. Francis is about to ground and pound this motherfucker from full guard. He's about to turn this dude into hamburger, bro. So Lins has full guard and double unders, but he's getting pressed up against the fence now. He's just trying to slow Francis down. Francis might be able to fuck him up here. Let's see if he can get some elbows going. 2 minutes expiring in the round. Yeah, there you go. Dude, fighters, I don't understand why they don't drop more elbows. I really don't. I just don't get it. Oh, man, look at the stack here from Francis. Trying to sit up off the underhook. A cradle from Francis. Hard punches here as... Oh! Dude, Lins took a bunch of punches trying to get up. And he gets up, but he looks like shit. Dude, look at the fucking back of Francis Ngannou. He could crack a walnut between his fucking traps. Dude, it must fucking suck trying to fight this dude in MMA. Oh, good right hand over the top from Lenz. He eats a hard jab for his efforts. Knee. Double unders here from there we go. There's that knee. It was double unders. Now it's 50-50 in the clinch. Lynn's just trying to find a way to slow the fight down. Dude, even these little not rabbit punches, but these little short punches in the clinch. Where's the knee, Francis? That's the thing that gets him to move. Oof. Look at these, bro. These little rib roasters have like a foot of fucking range on them, and he's still torching this dude's body. Dude, look at these. Dude, Lenz can barely move. He's just, oh my God, bro. What the fuck? Okay, he's trying to trip. I appreciate the moxie from Lenz, but that underhook is a little too weak and it's around the hip. It's going to be hard to kind of turn him over. Is that John Jones there? Crowd getting a little, elbow misses. Oh, left hand drops Lenz. He's done. That's it. Yeah. I mean, that was good. That was. Yep. Yeah, buddy. That's that. Francis is we all knew the score here. His power is devastating, right? It's devastating. Wow, I can't believe how many young women are there at this show. I mean, Lenz did his best. Listen, what did Lenz really, they hired him to do a job. He did the job the best he could. You know what I mean? Like trying to expect more from him to give Francis a really tough fight. It's just not very fair. This dude's punching. Oh, he's pointing at John Jones. Dude, look at this fucking dude. Let's see this combo. Uppercut, left hook over the top. Yeah. Oh man. Good. And you know what? Good on Francis to show restraint, to not add extra punishment where it didn't need to be. As soon as if you're flopping to the ground and your head bounces off the canvas, that's not an automatic. You got to stop the fight, but it's pretty close. There would have to be like a special set of circumstances to get around that. Classy for not following up from the big Fran. Yes, I totally agree. So these fights are all squash matches, which is not great. But it's tough to book these guys. It's tough to book them because you got a couple of big names. And for the most part, they don't have a dance partner that can. I mean, the next one should be a little bit different. I guess we'll see. But these are tough. These are tough to book. UFC has got to get him back. Dude, can you believe that they just keep punting on this? It's like, I don't know if he'd get the belt again. I don't really care. I don't know how much longer he's going to fight. But what I do know is as long as he's in the UFC heavyweight division, I have something to look forward to as at least modestly intriguing, if not, in certain cases, very intriguing. But like, I'm talking at a minimum, it's like, oh, Francis is on the card. Who's he fighting? Well, all right, whatever. It may not be the most intriguing, but it's kind of cool to see, someone's going to get fucking laid out. That's what I want to see. Like, I mean, why it's just, it's not my favorite. There's Eric Nixick. Boy, he's been on a heater, huh? Luke, I'm currently visiting Yosemite for the first time. Wondering if you've ever had the chance to travel here. I've actually never been there. Boom, left hook over the top. Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Big respect to Felipe Lenz. Like that. I mean, this is what he has. can't ask for a fighter to give you something they don't have, you know. Give us Ngannou versus Jones. Can you believe we never got that shit? Can you believe that? Can you fucking believe it? Uppercut, boom, son. And there he goes. There he goes. Francis has evolved, man. That's the best heavyweight, in my opinion. If not, I'd like to see him up against the ones who they think are. Like, the fact that we can't get that is fucking ridiculous. It's ridiculous. UFC, I beg you, bring the Predator back. Dana, get your punk ass over the beef and do what's right for the heavyweight. Only so much time left for Francis. That's what I'm saying, man. Like, again, big respect to Felipe Lins. He showed up to do the best job he could, and I know that he did. It is what it is. But, like, why are we wasting Francis's time? You know, if there's a better way to do this. And I appreciate that he got on this card and he's going to get, you know, a big check and he's doing big things for himself. I'm cool with it. But, like, this is not the best use of his time. It's just not. And it's not the best use of UFC's time to bring in everyone else who fucking sucks. Did Ariel say his name French style? Francis? I mean, I can't say shit. I do that with Spanish. I'm not hating, but all right, he's describing Felipe Lins. Bro, Francis Poly Market, Saudi Arabia. My man would just take money anywhere, huh? I thought Herb was a bit late on that one too. Which one was that? Not this one. Well, yeah. I mean, you're right. Sorry, you're right. I mean, there wasn't Francis didn't follow up, so the fact that he was late, it didn't actually cost Felipe in the end. But yes, you're right. Actually, he was late. UFC needs to put some respect on Francis's name. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. We got the full. Hold on, we got the full card announcement for. I'll have to make a separate video about this for UFC 329. Conor McGregor versus Max Holloway, Benoit Saint-Denis versus Paddy Pimblett, Corey Sandhagen, Mario Bautista, Brendan Royval. You mean like Raw Dog? Taking on Lonnie Kavanaugh, Gable Steveson taking on Elisha Ellison, Robert Whitaker versus Nikita Krylov. That's a fun one. Kai Kamaka III versus Luke Riley, Chasey Cortez versus Tong Wang. That's a fun one too, actually. That one's got some interesting elements to it. He's never fighting in the UFC again. TKO will not pay this man enough to justify it for him. I guess so, man. There's John Jones. He's like, when it comes to business, he should watch and learn. He's right. He's fucking right. Or he's asking him how a fight with Jones would go. Guys, I have to look at Jones's face. All right. I don't want to hear any more of this. That's enough. I'm trying to sell all the fights. I'm good. Whitaker on the prelims of the Conor card at light heavyweight. I would rather see him on the main card, but they're probably a little bit curious about how 205 is going to go for him. So maybe not the end of the world. Francis, first team all body Hall of Fame. Yeah, can't lie about that. This is a joke that he fought this guy is a joke. Fighting this guy, I lost respect for Frank. Why? Maybe have a conversation with Dana to get back in the UFC. I mean, if you want to be mad at MVP for booking a bunch of squash matches, you can do that. I think that's a totally legit criticism. I mean, what they wanted to do, the reporting around this was they wanted to do Francis versus Rico Verhoeven. Now, that would have been a different fight, too, because Francis probably would have taken him down. But, although one never knows, I suppose. But in any case, that would have been a different fight. And then you saw him get swooped up by Turkey to go fight in boxing Alexander Usyk. So, like, to me, Turkey scooped up Verhoeven to prevent Jake from being able to use him for this card. And that's fair business. Like, that's not, they didn't break any laws or anything. That's just, you have issues with Saudi involvement in sports generally, but that's just competition. But anyway, so it left them in a spot where they had to like just pick somebody, and they ended up here. What's Jake Paul saying? Some dumb shit. MVP is here to get fighters paid more, says Jake. Dude, there's no doubt in my mind the producers are telling Ariel to drag this out. 100%. I bet everything I owned. There's no way, like turning into Jake and there's no way. Yes, and they may have premeditated this to some degree, but like all of these are insanely long post-fight interviews. Francis got that dim mock. Yes, he does. Salt mining is the best base for MMA. I mean, the guy also appears to be a genetic freak. Bro, how are we still talking to Francis? If he goes, I'm the best, period. Okay, enough. Life is unfair, and so is for Francis to look like this. Everybody tonight looking physically insane. Dude, they all look like they've been ordering peptides off the internet. You know what I'm saying? And I got a lot of friends ordering. I've ordered a peptide off the internet. I still haven't really used it. I did buy this is true. I've bought one. I have not. You know what? My man Othello kind of put me onto it. So I know all you donks out there are using these Chinese peptides. I still haven't really committed to it. It's sitting in the fucking fridge. But they're easy to get. It's crazy. All right, I forgot how terrifying patient Francis can be. Dude, it's just like a matter of time. You know what I mean? If this one doesn't land, the next one will. And when that one does, it's a wrap. It is what it is. Trump needs to step in and let Team All Body back in the UFC. Yeah, man. Like, if we're going to have Trump in the sport, which is awful, but if we're can we at least get him to do something useful for us? Dana, I need you to bring back Francis. He's very good. Some are saying the very best. It's a very terrible Trump, but, people sleep on Francis's intelligence, learned English quickly, and his fight IQ has evolved. Yeah, man. And he's got good people around him. He trains hard. Like, Oh, here's John Jones. Let's hear what this motherfucker's saying. Oh, he says getting out of his UFC contract is going to be the difficult part. What did I tell you guys? Oh, he goes, if we can get out of my contract, that'd be great. Okay. He's pretty pissed at UFC, I guess. John rightly saying, correctly noting, he's like, yeah, he did look good, but he fought against a guy who was 220 pounds. He's right. He's right about that. That's true. Crowd filling up a little bit, right? It's a little bit better. All right, if you guys want to support the channel, have a little convo with me, put a little something into the super chat. That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome for us. Yeah, do that shit, please. Dude, these poor ring girls who have to like keep a smile plastered on their face the whole time. I'd rather just die. They could come to me and be like, all right. I mean, imagine you were a hot chick and they're like, okay, professional hot chick. We need you to just smile for like 4 hours nonstop. Just, Or you can just put your mouth on the business end of a shotgun. Which one's it going to be? I'd be like, you know what, this is a really simple call. Let me call my wife to tell her goodbye. I'll see you guys later. Or it doesn't really work in that analogy, but you know what I'm saying. Luke, my 13-year-old daughter is staying up for Ronda. She only wants to watch that fight and nothing else. Previously, she only showed interest in Sugar Sean and Patty for their haircuts. Hey, you know what? I'm telling you, man, if you guys had lived through Rousey's ascendancy, there was just nothing like it. I've never, since then, you go like Connor is bigger, but Connor didn't reach into different parts of like the sporting community that even Connor couldn't reach. Connor might get more of a certain kind. That's true. But he didn't have the depth into, these deep markets, like, young women and shit like that. Like he didn't have pull like that. And Rousey did it. It's a strange thing to have watched, and then like to watch this week, everyone shitting on her. It's like, I get it, man. Her personality is grating. I understand. I don't even disagree, but I don't know, put a little fucking respect on her name, right? Without any sort of consequences in this crowd, doesn't it kind of just feel like an influencer event with an occasional not loop-sided fight in the middle? So far, it's felt a little bit like that. I mean, it looks really good on TV. What's John Jones saying? A bunch of dumb shit? Like, why is he dressed in a t-shirt on this fucking stage? Okay, I don't want to hear more of John Jones. Alan, welcome to the party. Thank you. We did this one already. Do you think part of the issue with MMA viewership declining is the end times? This is great so far, and those 1 a.m. UFC end times are rough. I mean, I think there's just a lot of weirdness that's happening currently that's making a lot of things feel dull that is not in any way exclusive to MMA. I want to tell you guys something. So when the UFC, dude, I will tell you know what? We have a moment here. I'm going to have a little bit of a moment with you. What I'm about to tell you is fully true. When the UFC left Spike TV and they went to Fox Sports, this was a big deal. The amount of money was bigger, and it was also like UFC is now on a sporting channel versus it's a sport that's on Spike. It was a big deal that was on Spike, and it did great numbers. But this was a different level of prestige that was conferred. And there was a guy who wrote in one of these, like sometimes there are these media publications that are not designed for the public. They're designed for like executives, and they have a small readership, but like they charge a shit ton of money. And it was in one of these, it could have been Sports Business Journal, but I think it was in another one. There was one of these industry analysts. This was 2011. He wrote this. And in 2011, he wrote that, yes, MMA is popular and it will remain popular for a little while longer, but ultimately it won't last because this is more akin to the poker boom than it is for, it's the actual growth of a new sport. I mean, it is the growth of a new sport, but it will return to something smaller, like what other casino activities kind of are. And I forget exactly all of the reasons that he lists, but I remember reading that in 2011 and being like, this guy doesn't know what the fuck he is talking about. And then 2012 happened and 2013 happened, and there was some concerns about oversaturation. So I was like, well, maybe 2014 definitely was a lot of that. But then Rousey came, like she had, I think, her UFC debut in 2014, and then it got hot. Like when she really took off, it took off. And then Connor shows up right around this time. So like there's 2015 now. Now you're really cooking 2016. Dude, 2016 was an insane. I mean, they sold the UFC for $4 billion. And so you think they get on ESPN in 2017. So you think to yourself, wow, man, like that dude really missed the mark. But now you look at what's happening and you're like, I don't know if that dude was right, but I think about that argument that he made now more than ever. I really have to go back and find the actual memo itself and the reasons he laid out for it. But I just remember for years being like, wow, that dude really whiffed. And now I'm like, did he? Did he whiff? I don't know. He might have been right all along. Only time will tell. Thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. Nate Francis Ronda, does UFC have 3 bigger stars? Yeah. Yes. Well, no. I don't know. I'm not sure. This is the part. I know what Rousey's pull was like in 2016, 2015. I know what her pull was like. It was stratospheric. Remember, dude, understand something. Rousey sold millions of pay-per-view buys per fight. The Bethe Correia fight was in Brazil. Why is that relevant? Because if you're in Chicago, you can get Chicago media to come out. If you're in New York City, you're in the capital of the media capital of the world, frankly, certainly in the United States, you can marshal all of these forces to sell pay-per-views to the people relevant to that language, that geographic territory. It's just easier to make an inroad if you're able to sell, and remember, pay-per-view is predominantly a North American thing. So they take her to Brazil, and that thing still does monster fucking numbers. Then you'll recall the Holly Holm fight, which they put in a stadium in Australia, that did monster numbers too. So they were even able to take her out of North America to sell a product that almost exclusively sells, in terms of the amount of numbers total, almost exclusively sells in North America, and she still set records. Dude, that's fucking insane. That's insane. So I know what her pull was like then. But I don't really, in 2026, what is her pull like? I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure. This will be the most definitive answer to that, but I don't really know. Oh, we're doing more promos with her working on the farm. I got to be honest. I don't give a fuck about her working on the farm. Seems like a nice property. Yeah, I don't want to hear this. I don't really care. All right. Riley, thank you for contributing. It's 10:43 p.m. What time do you think they will hold off the main event? I mean, do they want to push to midnight? They might try. They might try to push to midnight. It's possible. It's possible. I mean, that's, if you think about it, I mean, maybe 11:30. No, they're gonna push to midnight. They're gonna push this one to 11. So I mean, just think about it realistically. UFC does this too. You can just typically allot 30 minutes for broadcast time each fight. Now, there's other parts of the broadcast that they fill up, but yeah, you're looking at 30 minutes per fight. Typically, if it's a 5-rounder, you're looking at obviously a lot more. McGregor Holloway announced. Yes, they announced it. I got to be honest. I don't really, that fight. I don't give a fuck that Conor McGregor is back. The guy's a horrible person. Like, oh, they're all horrible people. Well, dude, is there anyone who's not a horrible person anymore who like fights in this fucking sport? Do we like, is that we're just reduced to cheering for the misfit toys of dictators and or people who've been held liable for sexual assault and or the most racist guy is that like that's MMA now? Like that's who's we're that's yeah, like, oh, St. Pierre wore a suit to a press conference. Like, holy fuck, we're not. I mean, those days are over. I don't give, dude. The guy got his shit pushed in at trial for it was a civil offense, but at the trial for the sexual assault, the alleged sexual assault, he loses it horribly. Then, I mean, like so many details just kind of came undone. They had no answer for like key questions, right? It was terrible. So Nikita Hand wins. Then he goes and tries to appeal it, and to say he lost bad would not even be remotely the right thing. He claimed to have 2 witnesses who could corroborate a finding that that his defense team wanted to introduce, and there was no witnesses to it. And he claimed he had 2 people, and that would really challenge Nikita Hand's both timeline and description of the night's events and like where her location was. This would have changed it. Then, like the day of the trial, I mean, it was like the day before. It was at the 11th fucking hour, they had to withdraw both of them, and the court chastised his team for like wasting their time with this. And there was now an investigation launched into those 2 who had claimed it. He had to withdraw basically every claim that he was making in front of the court, except for like a totally minor and irrelevant procedural one about I forget exactly what it was at this point, but it was like, it was not relevant to the evidentiary considerations at all. Like, he lost bad, and it's like. Oh yeah, Connor's back. I'm like, so I'm supposed to like think Greg Hardy is the worst guy on earth and that this guy is some fucking hero. Like, it's just insane. This is, oh, yeah, look, countdown to Diaz Perry, 10 minutes. I told you they were going to push it off to 11. That one's going to go to 11. Yeah, you're looking at probably close to midnight, I think. So, yeah, that's fun. I don't care that Connor's back. I don't. I really don't. Unfortunately, UFC is the star. It's like WWE. This is true. This is true. Mr. Fancy Dick. That's a great name. Mr. Fancy Dick. I'm going to call my next dog this. Max is listed as a minus 350 favorite. I mean, if we're just going to talk the fight itself, it's at 170 as I understand it. And I don't know how I feel about that for Max, but otherwise, Connor's been off forever. And we haven't seen him since his leg break. Like, I don't know what to possibly expect from any of this. I'm going to take my glasses off because it's hot as shit in here. I don't know what to expect. So, I mean, it's like, are they fair? I don't think discounting Connor's chances, it seems unfair. On the other hand, it's like, who's to say? It's the same question about Ronda. What's she going to look like? Connor hasn't been out as long as Ronda. Connor's been out, what, 7 years? Or pretty close to it? Something like that? He's been out for a while. How long has Connor been out? I've been texting with BC all night. Oh, here he is. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. That's a hilarious. Oh, my God, dude. Brian Campbell is funny. Y'all don't even know. Like, oh, he's funny on air. Yeah. He's funny on air. He's a lot funnier off air. Like, even more so. Even more so. Holy shit. All right. Well, let's see. Conor McGregor. When was his last fight exactly? Because I want to get that right. All right, let's see. God, he is repellent. All right. Let's see. Mixed martial arts records. So his last fight was Poirier 264. No, I said 7 years. That's not right. It's close to 5. It'll be 5 since he last fought. 5 years. This was 2021. But he hasn't. Oh, excuse me. He hasn't won in almost 7. That's right. Because it was not till not quite, but January 2020. So that's right. So he fought basically 5 years ago, and he hasn't won in about 7. Not give or take. Thoughts on Gable UFC debut too early? I'll make a separate video about this. Okay, let's think about this. Okay. So I've done some regional MMA, and as a, it's not just calling the fights. You have to watch a lot of regional MMA to like kind of get ready for it. Man, I got to tell you, it is like the promoters are not putting on a ton of heavyweight fights. I mean, you'll see more of it on the regional scene because there's a lot of people who are, it's that level hasn't weeded them out yet. But like even then, there's just a lot fewer heavyweight fights. The sport has gotten smaller in terms of like the weight of the opponent or the fighter over time in aggregate. So the argument would be, yeah, you could keep him on the regional scene for how long, but like it's going to be hard. Guys are not going to want to fight him. It's going to be hard to get him fights. It's, it might make more sense if the UFC talks to him and says, hey, listen, we know you still don't have that many fights. We'll put you on a developmental program within the UFC, something akin to what they've done with like Raul Rosas, which again, is for the most part still going pretty good. Like he's definitely getting better. I don't know exactly how good he's going to get, but they didn't ruin him. I still don't think it's a good idea to do it this way. However, because of his Olympic and obviously athletic pedigree, because of the state of the heavyweight division, and because of how hard it's going to be for him to get fights on the regional scene, I don't think if there is a case to fast track a guy with a handful of fights to the UFC, it would be this case. It would be this one. Doesn't mean it's not without risk, but this is the most appropriate use of that model given the circumstances. Luke, I graduated college today. Congratulations, young man. Congratulations. Sort of feels weird as it kind of just abruptly ends. but onward and upward from here. Thanks for everything you do. Congratulations. That was a big day for me. Yeah. I'll be honest, one of the last few happy memories I had with my mom, because she attended. So that was great. And yeah, dude, congratulations. And the world seems scary and the world seems big. And I have news for you. It is big and it is scary, but you'll figure it out for yourself. You will figure yourself out. You will figure this out. And I wish you nothing but the best. Congratulations to you and all the graduating class of 2026. Are you worried about JDS? Yeah, he needs to retire. He's always been able to get in great physical condition. He's always been able to, show up and, not fight. Well, he's had a couple timid performances, but in general, he's kind of laid it on the line, hasn't he? But dude, I mean, we're talking how many KO losses at this point? Like what is it, 9 or something? Like, dude, it's time. Like it's been fucking time. These guys, it just drives me nuts. Like I've seen the old boxers. And when I say old, like, oh, you mean like in their 70s? How about their motherfucking 50s? And they look different and they sound different. It doesn't take too long for that shit to start showing up. I mean, the reality is it shows up during their career, but they can kind of like say, well, some trade-off in cognitive functioning is worth it because I'm making money. And, if it's just this, it's no big deal. And of course, that's just always the canary in the coal mine, I get the comparison, but the poker boom died in large part due to legislation banning online poker. Died basically overnight versus the slow decline we're seeing. I would have to see the memo. Again, I thought it was a bad comparison the whole time too. I don't think that's the only reason why it died. But in any case, it kind of came back to earth. All right, tale of the bet. Let's get this going. Dude, what the fuck is this shit? Kenny Florian making bet explanations. I don't care about that. Okay, we did that one. Did you get a chance to watch the one fights last night? Is it Tang Kai or I thought he was going to lose to Gazanov and he didn't. He fucking leg kicked him into living death, as Tito Ortiz, or excuse me, Ken Shamrock might say. So that looks pretty incredible. We'll talk about it on Monday's MK for sure. Just saw Chandler fall to his knees in Walmart. Oh, because of the fight being announced. That's funny. Did you rewatch and see how Yuri was telling Carlos to stand and fight because he knew he was compromised and couldn't move? He could have kept kicking him. Guys, can I tell you, I don't know what fight we're talking about here. Can someone help me? I don't know which one this is. This card, like crossover boxing, feels empty and flat despite the good production. It's just that none of the fights carry consequence or relevance. Makes it hard to give a shit. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of showcase fights. You can have showcase fights on a card, but there's a few too many of them on this one, right? I mean, I guess there was a chance for JDS to win if he wrestled, and he did one takedown attempt. But, yeah, I don't know, man. Greetings from Venice, Los Angeles. Glad you enjoyed your time in LA. Man, they showed the Santa Monica Pier, and they didn't make it look nearly as beautiful as it is. It's fucking spectacular. Like, it's such a beautiful part of the country. Is it just me, or is the cage really small? The cage is really small. They're doing it on purpose to force action, and it makes footwork hard, MMA hasn't grown linearly with the big four because a father can't pass a fighter down to his son. There is no tradition for the next generation. Okay, that's true. It's true. But the problem is there are old boxing fans. Like, boxing fans tend to stay boxing fans, if not for life, but for long stretches of time. Whereas like MMA fans, they burn hot. They get a love affair with MMA that's like nothing else they've ever had in their life. And then it burns hot, and then they don't want to do it anymore. And then it just burns out. Whereas boxing tends to be like a low simmer that just kind of stays, you know. Thoughts on the last few weeks at Real Madrid? Chaos, dysfunction, dismay. It's been a lost season. They're fist fighting each other. There's petitions to get Mbappe off the team with hundreds of thousands of signatures. I mean, it's a fucking mess. It's a fucking mess. They just, you know, there are probably some players that have to go. Arbeloa is not the guy for that job. You know, it's a mess. Can we also talk about Gable Steveson is on the card, who is also a terrible person if you look into the story? Yes, he only avoided a charge because there was a law that if the person who was allegedly assaulted or raped, if they got drunk of their own accord, it kind of nullified the charge. Now, they've since closed that loophole in Minnesota, but it was a real one. And so he got to essentially get off. Boy, they're booking real Boy Scouts over there, huh? Loved Francis's jab, says Ian. Oh, what's up, Ian? I'm mostly enjoying the broadcast. I doubt Netflix actually wants to be in the MMA business outside of one-offs like this. Netflix isn't stupid. They appreciate the UFC stranglehold on the MMA market. They have to know. But they also have to see what they can get out of this, right? All right, let's see what we got here. How do you feel about Mourinho returning to Real Madrid potentially? Honestly, like, I don't know if there's a better idea than that one right now. And I don't know if it's the best idea at all, but what's the better one? I don't know. We did this one already. Yes, I am. Think we're going to get a walkout from Kamala Harris. Got to rehab that image. Dude, if we get a walkout from Kamala Harris, I might just quit the sport. I might be like, you know what? I'm fucking done. I'm donezo here. I can't with this shit anymore. That's hilarious. All right, here's Mike Perry. Oh my God. All right. Nate, thank you very much. Ming says Ronda said some crazy stuff during her rise in UFC. Do you have insights into whether what we saw was the real Ronda or was she just hyping things? Without knowing specifically which crazy things you're referring to, I don't know exactly. She definitely talked dismissively and confidently, but it was just received much better than. All right, here we go. Here comes Mike Perry. See this part right here, guys, where Mike Perry is kind of shadowboxing. He's walking out in this tunnel. I think it looks spectacular on TV. Gable's last fight did not look good. No, he looked vulnerable. I wouldn't say he looked bad. He did look vulnerable. That wheel kick almost knocked him over. It's crazy that there was UFC tonight as well, and really no one cared. I mean, that card was. I mean, come on, guys. If UFC was putting its best foot forward, it would be a lot different. Like that White House card's going to get a big number, yeah. But like that Apex card tonight, I mean, I'm not being a hater when I say it was fucking terrible. Like, come on, you know what I mean? Like, what are we doing here? Hate him or not, it's extremely impressive what Jake Paul has managed to do fight-wise and professionally. Jake Paul is a very talented promoter and an interesting promoter, but he's not that great of a boxer, and his fights are not that interesting. That's the issue. But as a promoter, yeah, he's a good promoter. He's a great promoter. Who on earth has sanctioned these fights, though? California, bro. They don't give a fuck. Like, ever been to Brazil or Canary Islands, Spain? No, the two big things on my list I've not done. Been to Spain, never been to the Canary Islands, and I've still not gone to Brazil. That's on the bucket list. Do you think Nate is in trouble if they stand? Gamebred lit him up. Even that piece of shit Connor dropped him. Mike is a strong, still active boxer. I think if it stays on the feet, now if Nate crowds him and they fight in the clinch, that might be a little bit different. But if they stay at range, I mean, I know Nate's got a jab too, but like Mike will just eat that shit to counter him. I think this is, if I'll just say this, I am not going. I think I picked him for, I said quite literally for funsies on MK. Nate's Nate. We all love him, but like, I need to see how he looks here, man. Did Jake mention the Thucydides trap and MVP yet? No, he didn't. Not yet. Chandler buys Max Shade so he trips like Ferguson. Honestly, poor Mike Chandler. What are you going to do? Is it just me, or are zero sugar sodas far superior? They're the fucking kings, man. They're the kings. They taste so good. Diet shit doesn't taste that good. Zero sugar tastes. And I know some of that is marketing because there's also Mountain Dew Diet. Like, what's the difference between Diet Mountain Dew and Diet Mountain Dew or Mountain Dew Zero Sugar? I think nothing. Founder of the BMF title. Do Muay Thai fighters have longer or shorter careers than MMA? But the thing is this, they start very, very early, sometimes in the single digits of their age, and then they kind of retire much earlier, late 20s, early 30s. So they have this front-loaded career, and then they transition. The Thais tend to transition after that. So it's not like they don't have long careers, but it's at a very strange time because they have to start boxing and Thai, or they call it boxing, but we call it Thai boxing. They have to do it very early. Diet A&W root beer is fire. It's so good. You know who got me onto this? He didn't like, I mean, I don't know the guy, but I saw him drinking it. Do you guys know Roman Mori on IG? He's like this super fucking jack dude who's a grappler, and he is like a big acolyte for and an advocate for like the value of lifting weights to enhance sport performance, which sounds like it shouldn't be controversial, but in the way in which he goes after it, it can be, although I think he makes great points. Anyway, he's constantly bigging this one up, so I tried it, and I was like, yo, that thing is so good. Here comes Nate Diaz. I'm impressed with the production value so far, but weird choice to deaden the crowd arena audio. Every once in a while, it peeks through the filter and makes the event feel much less dead. Yes, they've got some audio issues. The video issues, the video presentation is top-notch. The audio presentation leaves a little bit to be desired. Is Perry's girlfriend his whole corner again? No, I think he's got a couple more people this time. What was her name? Lattori. Do you think the middleweight UFC roster will be much more interesting if signing Roberto Soldic? Man, what the fuck? UFC not sign him is beyond me. Yeah, it's certainly it'd be great to have him. Clearly, how much of a impact he would make? He would fight some big names. He would be in some big fights. Hard to say beyond that, but for sure, it'd be great to have him. He would be a real contributor, certainly in the top 10, and I suspect the top 5. Been an MMA fan since 2001. My dad wrestled with Team Catalfo, and I watched all his fights, but at 33, UFC feels harder to enjoy due to politics. Yeah. Well, mercifully, we don't have any of that tonight, so let's just enjoy. They should have called this card Turf Wars. What does TERF stand for? Do I want to know? Your color balance on camera seems off. I don't know if that's the case or the jaundice is starting to set in. Probably I'm dying. I'm probably dying. Yeah. I am dying. I had a woman, a former boss of mine, text me saying she's watching the fights tonight and hasn't watched MMA in a while. So we'll see. We'll see what kind of number this does tonight. There's Nate. There's Stitch Duran. Big John. There's Nate Diaz getting a big pop. He looks to be in good physical condition. Can't really hear the walkout music. I don't know how intentional that is. Nate, the only one not pissing hot on the card. You're probably right, bro. Like, I don't think he did, but like these other motherfuckers, I don't know, man. They're looking sharp tonight. You know what I mean? Any women's fighter using superior the jab or feints. I hate to say it, what's her face? The French woman, Manon Ferrot has a good jab. Only person I can think of is Val, but she has a good one too. Reason I ask is because if jabs and feints, it's not feints, Faints, seem to be enough to win world titles, i.e. Izzy and Sean. But you got to be really good at feinting. It's not just a thing you can do on occasion. Like they would tell me that the boys at City Kickboxing for like hours would do feinting shadow boxing, where it's only feinting. They're just only practicing and foot feinting, shoulder feinting, look, any element they could add. How lucrative if UFC brought Muay Thai kickboxing? I don't know. It's failed here many times. Could they steal the light from one fight? Dude, one is going to go out. They just need to wait for one's light to be extinguished, which is inevitable. I wonder if we still have that audio clip of Perry going off on BC somewhere on the internet. Yeah, we have it in the soundboard. We have it. All right. Here's Mike Perry with a haircut from 2007. Let's do this. He looks shredded as shit, too. This is, to me, the most fun fight on this card. This one could be a lot of fun. There's Nate. Look how many women are at this show, man. Look at that. You don't see a lot of women at MMA shows like that anymore. Big pop for Nate Diaz on the Stockton mention. A lot of women. A lot of you incel motherfuckers should be there. All right, you got Mike Beltran doing this. All right, they touch. Here we go. Round one. I'll tell you about the time I drank with a Glory ring girl who was in Playboy. She was insane. All right, hold on. Here we go. You ready? Are you ready? Let's go. Woof. Here comes Mike. Mike's on the gas. Big overhand right from Mike. Open stance fight. Nate's a lefty. Mike trying to dirty box here. A nice lancing jab from Nate Diaz. He clinches. The clinching might be, I think, essential. Essential is a strong word. Ooh, nice elbow in the clinch. Short one there from Mike Perry. Hard body shots from Mike. Ooh. Diaz covering up. Perry looking for a Sotogari from Nate. Mike's trying to get out the back door, and he does. He comes out on top. Nate's on his back, kind of playing the up kick game. Mike trying to land on him. Armbar. It fails. Knee bar. Here we go. He might have this one. Heel hook. He's got 50-50. 50-50. 50-50 for Nate. And he could get an inverted one here if he can get some heel exposure. He's trying to roll over, get some exposure. He's going to lose it here, I think. Yep, he's going to come out on top. Or he should have. Oh, dude, what the fuck? All right, now they're going to stand up. What are they going to do here? Yep, they're going to stand up. Okay, here we go. Nate's slow to get up. I'm not sure what that's all about. Dude, is Nate sucking wind? What the fuck is this? Nice jab from Nate. Dude, does it look like Nate is sucking wind a little bit? I'm serious, bro. He doesn't look right. Look at this. Oh, these body shots are killing him. Man. Diaz gonna get, dude, he's getting fucking roughed up here. Dude, those body shots are fucking Nate Diaz up, man. Mike just lands another one. Nate can't breathe. That's why. Mike comes over the top of a jab from Nate. Dude, Nate looks Terrible. Terrible. Flopping around on his feet here, covering up. Mike just short on some big punches. Some of these jabs are getting through for Nate. He's clinching. Man, you know what? I thought the clinch might be a place where Nate might be able to do some work because it's in MMA. It tends to be a place where you can at least slow it down. Good jab for Nate. Another good jab. Another good jab for Nate. Nate putting it together, a little good sequence here. That's nice. Diaz's right eye is already kind of swollen up a little bit and cut. Not the end of the world, but, you know. Nate kind of getting a second wind here. Oh, I don't know if he got poked or something. Oof. Man, Mike is just missing on some of these. Good 1-2 from Nate. Good left hand now. And Nate's starting to put a little more pressure on him. Oh, now the nose of Mike Perry is bleeding. Here comes Nate. I think those body shots were killing him. I think they're maybe wearing off a little bit. Nate seems like he's got a little bit of a recovery going. Good job by Mike punching with him with the left hand, with the right. I'm sorry. Oh, hard knee by Perry. 1-2 by Nate. Good jab by Nate. These jabs are pretty good by Nate. They're all kind of getting through. Oh, another hard body shot. Okay, Diaz kind of gets to the back. Mike arm drags, turns him. Another good elbow from Mike. 2 good elbows from Mike. Almost a third. Okay, Nate put some good jabs there at the end and had a couple during the round, but that was pretty clearly Mike's round. 10-9 Mike. Well, let's see. Let's see how this goes. Feints, not feints. Yes, you're right. Hoisted by my own petard. Yes. Not feints, but F-E-I. You're right. Hoisted by my own petard. Did you catch the Alice Ardeline submission versus Polyana? Oh, yeah, the where she tried to with her own hip, she caught the leg and then pressed into it. Yes. From guard. Yes. The capsule choke or the capsule submission. Nate looks 80, maybe no more than 78, but yeah, not great. All right, let's get this ready. Round 2. I like the ring apron or the cage apron with the LEDs. It looks sick. They're cleaning the cage. Yeah, you cannot hear the arena all that great. All right, here we go. Round 2. First round 2 on the main card. Nate goes jab to the body over the top. He's still pumping the jab. He's got to start putting something else behind it. These jabs are great, but Mike, you got to put some combinations in his face. They're exchanging. Mike on the gas here, not as much as the first round, but he's pressuring. Oh, he's trying to slap a collar tie on to get to this body shot. Mike Perry is. Output has slowed from both. Diaz with a couple of great jabs there. Double right hook from Diaz. That's nice. More body work. Missing, though, however, a knee from Perry. Good job with the right hand counter punching with Nate Diaz. And a good flurry now from Mike. seems to have backed Diaz up. They're going after each other. These elbows in the clinch, man, these are giving Nate all kinds of problems. Here comes Mike Perry. These frames, these guys are slaughtering each other. Look at this. Mike Perry looks a little flat-footed too now. Good left hand from Nate. They both look tired. Can I be honest about that? Oh, the face of Nate Diaz. His face is a mess. He's covered in blood. Oof. Okay, here's Mike Perry. He's got the back of Nate Diaz standing. Double unders like a big brother. Looks like he's trying to get a choke. That doesn't go anywhere. Underhook now by Diaz spins into him. Man, Diaz can't see shit. I mean, they're both there to be hit. Oh, Mike Perry drops him with a knee to the face. Oh, he's on top. Armbar. Lets it go. Hammering out elbow from Mike Perry. Mike Perry is beating the bags off of Nate Diaz. Ooh, big overhand. He's going to let him up. That's a good call, actually. Dude, Nate Diaz has blood all over the front of his head and the back of his head. There is blood streaming down the back of Nate Diaz. You don't see that too often. Good right hand from Nate, but he never has. Dude, Nate Diaz's face is a fucking Spider-Man mask. You got to be kidding me. That cut man has some work to do. Dude, Nate Diaz is taking a beating here, bro. I mean, Mike Perry he's got his limits, but oh, another hard punch. 20. I'd be curious to see if this one gets stopped on cuts. I don't know where they are. It's hard to see right now, but man. Another hard shot. Man, Mike. Oh, another big knee from Mike, and he drops Nate again. That's it. I think. Whoa. Did they stop it, or did the bell expire? I guess they're going to go to the next round. Honestly, he dropped him twice in that round. Once at the basically the bell. They might call this one. Yeah, I'm being told it was an elbow that opened it up. Look at these cuts. Boy, they better get something on that shit. Dude, look at all those elbows, man, in the clinch. They have fucked him up. They're going to have to get some Vaseline on that shit. Yeah, look, Stitch is going to put some in there. Oh, they're not going to send him out. Oh, they waived it. That's a good call. That's a good call. No, he was getting tuned up. These cuts are terrible. He can't see for shit. He's going to go take a beating. He's in his 40s. Nah, Stitch made the right call. I know it's disappointing. Stitch made the right call. And honestly, he's going to be able to write this one off a little bit and be like, oh, yeah, the cut stopped it. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't actually get beat. You know, he'll milk that, I suppose. That's a good call. I don't mind that one at all. Oh, he could have kept going. No, he couldn't see shit. He was getting beat up, and he was going to get beat up even worse, and he's in his 40s. Nope. Fine. Totally fine. No issue with that at all. Stitch took a look at that and said, fuck that. He's right. Stitch is the man, dude. That's why you need old men in fucking professional boxing and professional MMA, because they've been around and they know, oh, that knee actually missed. It just kind of pushed. Wow, it just pushed him over and it dropped him. Man, dude, Nate got fucked up. I mean, he did some work on his own. I can appreciate that, but he got fucked up. I don't have a single solitary problem with that stoppage. Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. UFC tried to do Nate so dirty with Hamzat. Can you believe they tried to make him fight Hamzat? You know what I mean? Like, we all know Hamzat's got some limits now against some kind of guys, but dude, like in this kind of matchup, I mean, come on. Nate has absolutely zero. He's 42. Zero fast twitch fibers. He's 42. He's 42. $10 for the CTE golems. Thanks, my friend. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. Watch a clavicular stream or a Bert Kreischer show. How about I watch the business end of a shotgun? How about that one? Didn't know Nate was auditioning for Terrifier 3. I've not seen the Terrifier movies, but I get the reference. It's a horror movie. Good stoppage. Nate Diaz looking like Edgar Allan Poe's The Mask of the Red Death. That was terrible. And how about this? Connor out here gifting memberships. Go get him. Go get him. Yeah, I'm cool with that stoppage. I'm cool with it. Dude, Nate, it's like, dude, we all love Nate, man. We all love Nate. Nate's been real cool to me for the most part, and I appreciate that. He's 42. Like, what are we doing here? You know, he did some good work. He was certainly trying to bite down. You know, he had some flurries for sure. He had a few moments of sustained attack. Dude, look at Mike Perry's back, bro. I just want to point out Mike Perry has beaten Nate Diaz, MVP, Eddie Alvarez, Luke Rockhold. He's beaten some like guys with huge names or huge accomplishments anyway in the sport, or at least, you know, a reputation as somebody formidable. That's fucking crazy. 96% of donks in the chat say right decision to pull Nate. Good. Glad to hear that. Yeah, totally, right? Totally. You know? Dude, look at the fucking cuts on this dude. Look at Mike flexing. Does this Nate beat Connor? I mean, I don't know, man. Mike Perry. I don't know what it says on his mouthpiece, but are we about to get another 45-minute post-fight interview? Nate said, fuck that, Black Matt Netflix. All right, there's Mike Perry. I'll listen to a little bit of this. Stitch Duran talking to him. Yeah, I mean, look at the cuts and how they were running into his face. That's what Stitch saw. Stitch saw that, like, he can't stop these. They're going to absolutely impact his vision. He's 42. He's taking a beating. You got to call this dude. Fucking salute to Stitch Duran. Good fucking call. Good call. Ads on the shorts really brings me back. Shout out Condom Depot. Nate really needs to retire. He has nothing left to prove. I hope he doesn't need money. I don't think he needs money, but I think we'll talk about this in the post-fight show for sure. We'll talk about this in the post-fight show. Contracts aside, how insane would this ascension from Perry be if in an alternate universe he got a Connor fight next, saying I did what you couldn't and took him out? Can you see me now? I mean, MMA is full of surprises. That one seems a little too full of a surprise, but it ain't the craziest thing I've ever seen. Longtime fan of the MMA commentary, and while we're not aligned politically, I respect your authenticity and standing for your own principles. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Good luck with the pivot, brother. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I appreciate that. I genuinely mean that. Thank you very much. Mike Perry has to have the best post UFC career ever. He's got one of the it's so surprising too, right? Dude, they're doing a like Jake Paul could fight half the card bit. I don't give a fuck about any of this. Perry is only 34. It feels like he ought to be 40. Dude, he's done so well for himself. It's crazy. Between scar tissue and age and the way Mike fights, this was the easiest 450 I've ever made betting on a fight not to go the distance, and Mike by KO. I thought it could go the distance. I did think it could. But the way that Mike dominated in the clinch really changed up everything for Nate. I think Nate thought he was going to have some advantages there, and he didn't. Mike Perry's a legend, bro. From a guy who came around being like, I'm going to use the fact that I have 1% DNA to use the N-word, to a guy who let that go and now is a businessman, successful prize fighter. You know, it's very remarkable. Luke, did you work with Morrow when you were at Showtime? I worked with Morrow. He was at Showtime, but we didn't really work together. I worked with him when we were at Glory together. Nate never does well against guys bigger than him. If you look at his career, he should have always been a 55er. I don't think that's his only issue here, though, bro. Not surprised, Motre Effers, whatever that is. Connor lost to Connor. Let that sink in, donks. I don't even know what any of this means, but I appreciate the $5. I'm going to do something real quick. I'm going to go to the little boys' room, and then I'll be back because I want to get ready for the main event. It's going to give me just like a minute. Just a minute. All right? I'll be right back. I promise. Thanks. Okay, we're back. I know we lost some viewers as a consequence of that. I'm sorry about that. I do my best to get back to this. Okay, all right, very good. Welcome back. There's Tyron Woodley doing something. I'm not sure. I'm not really going to listen. I never knew Cutman could call the fight. I knew the doctor could, of course, but never seen a Cutman make that call. The question is who Nate designated to give that power to. In the UFC, the cutmen kind of work. I mean, they're licensed with the commission, but they're UFC employees, I believe, and so you don't get to pick your cut man. Or I think you might have some say if you're like a main event guy, but you can't do it like in boxing where you can just bring your cut man. But Stitch has been training people, not just he's known for being a cut man, but he like trained people in boxing long before he was ever a cut man. And so he may have had authorization to do it. Like that might have been like established ahead of time. Dude, you want a guy like, I mean, dude, Nate's fucking smart. Putting a guy like Stitch Duran in his corner, like he knows Stitch is not like Stitch has seen all the shit, dude. Stitch is, I'm not saying anyone's perfect and everyone's going to get it right all the time, but dudes, think about how many cuts Stitch has seen. Think about how many corners this fucking guy has worked. Big corners, small corners, like you know, he's seen every iteration of cut, placement, context, you name it. He looked at that and he turned immediately to the boxing coach, Richard Perez, and was like, he can't go out. Straight up, he can't. He knew. It wasn't even like he knew like this. You need a guy like that. You need a guy like that in your life. That saved him. You know, he took a lot of abuse, Nate Diaz did tonight, but it could have been much worse, but for the intervention of a guy like Stitch Duran. I have a lot of respect for fucking Stitch Duran, man. Guy knows what he's talking about. You want old, I'm telling you, dude, if there's one lesson I've learned from watching boxing, is you want an old man in your corner, 50 plus bare minimum, ideally after 60, you know, because those guys, they have seen some shit and they're not there to please you. They're there to make good judgment, you know, or have good judgment, I should say. All right. Woodley was adamantly telling Jones to get MVP Netflix to cover the cost of the legal battle to get Jones to fight Francis. Did he really? Is this at all possible? I'm not sure that's even legal. I don't know. I don't think that they would do. They have. Is WWE on Netflix still? Like, aren't they still in business to some degree with TKO? Right? Oh, I don't think so. This commentary sucks, this person says, and I know it's easy to say when a team like Rogan, Anik, and DC exists, but man, these guys are just cringy. I like Morrow. I don't know if he's everyone's cup of tea, but I really like Morrow. Him and Kenny are fine. You know, is this all an audition to fight Jake Paul next? This is really an annoying angle to the evening, if I do say so myself. I don't really care for this. I guess they have to do it. I don't know, but Conor versus Mike at 170 would have been better. Probably, but it's still with Conor. Who knows what you're going to get with Conor? Who knows? My mom just messaged me that she is watching this MVP card. It's messing with my head. Rousey Netflix is a genuinely special combo. Again, I got a text tonight from someone who literally, listen, this is my old boss. She goes, been a bit since I've really sat down and watched MMA. And then she has something negative to say. I'll leave it at that. That's awesome. You think Jake calls out Rousey or Carrano at the end of their fight as well? Who knows? The night is young. Now, I called midnight as the start time for the main event. I think that's looking pretty good. Do I have time for a nap before the next fight? Thanks for everything. If you can get a cat nap in, maybe. All right, here we go. Are they gonna let Gina wear a long sleeve rash guard? Surely not, right? God, dude, Rousey still has happy feet. It's crazy. She still has happy feet. It's unbelievable. Luke, my apologies. I've been drinking a bit. I meant I'm not surprised that Nate lost. But then again, Conor lost to Nate. I still believe that Nate can beat Conor. I don't know what Nate can or can't do. He's old. He's got a lot of miles on him. And he added a bunch more tonight. Given Nate's slurred speech and cognitive decline, should he now run for? Okay. All right. All right. It's a good joke. It's a good joke. Prime versus Prime. Gegard versus Strickland. Ooh, that's a great question. Gegard. That's a tough one. I mean, because it's like Izzy didn't beat Strickland, but then it's like Jared Cannonier did. So, what are happy feet? So, next time when someone moves, pay attention to their weight distribution. Weight distribution is one of the most important things in striking and closing the distance and whatnot. And happy feet are when their feet move in such a way that doesn't correspond with coordinated weight shifting. So, like, they'll have weight one way and they're lifting and then they're kind of bouncing a little bit. It doesn't match their needs and it doesn't match their movement pattern. It's kind of like the feet are almost light underneath, but not in a good way, not like a fleet of foot sharp angles, but like almost like there's a clumsy, rhythmless connection between what the body might be doing, what the feet need to be doing. That's kind of what I mean. And she has a little bit of that where it's like it's this weird weight distribution where it doesn't match the ordinary flow of movement that you would see from a more sort of steady striker. And there's different styles. Robert Whitaker can bounce, but you can see underneath him when he moves, all of it is very intentional. His feet, they bounce, but they flow with him and then they propel him or, cut him at an angle or whatever. Or you get someone like Izzy who steps and slides, but his feet are underneath him. They move in coordinated patterns and the weight distribution is all designed for where he needs to be physically to launch a coordinated attack. It's not disjointed. Kat Zingano on the table here. Y'all had this one? This one's good too. Look at the macros on this. Pretty good. What do you think why do you think Max's camp hasn't created more homegrown stars or attracted more established fighters despite Max's success? Dude, because they're in Hawaii. Like, Hawaiians are good at fighting, but there's a limited amount of talent to recruit on a small set of islands. It's very, very difficult. The fact that you've got a Max Holloway at all is pretty remarkable, to say nothing of a Max plus a Brad Tavares, plus a BJ Penn, plus, Hawaii does have a rich tradition, but still it's going to be tough to recruit. And like the amount of resources that other teams have for training partners, for facilities, for you name it, on the mainland in California and Florida, like American Top Team, like they can't compete with that. Like American Top Team is like a fucking airport. It's like the Doha airport. You know what I mean? Like the crossroads of the world stop through there. And that is just going to mean you're going to be able to attract more talent. You're going to be able to attract more coaches. You're going to be able to. It's just going to be very, very difficult to compete with something like that. Have zero interest in ever seeing Diaz fight again. Can we please let these old, tired, slow fighters retire? I could care less ever seeing Connor. Yeah, I mean, I want to say, yeah, I can understand the perspective. Yeah. UFC can always let John out of his contract. What's the incentive, though? The scenario Tyron described would never happen. Fight anyway and let MVP promotions cover the legal fees, burning money, speed run. Easy lawsuit win for UFC. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that's all about. And, UFC, remember, it was in 2023, John bragged about signing an 8-fight deal. Congratulations, dude. Super great foresight. Because everyone does this. They'll be on good terms. UFC sneaks in and is like, hey, let's get you a deal. And it's a big to-do, and they pay him. I mentioned there's all kinds of bumps in pay and different ways in which they manage that. And then, 2-3 years goes by and they're in a very different place with their promoter, and it doesn't matter now because you have locked in for basically all the time that matters that's left. Okay. Bro, I'm crying. I just saw Armin jumping the barrier. Again? Again? Okay. Very good. This whole event feels more like boxing than MMA. Well, that kind of makes sense. I mean, the boxing promoters put it on, you know? I think Happy Feet are good for those judo throws. Yeah, maybe because she can kind of like launch into position, but even then, like there's important footwork in judo. I just think her footwork in judo, I mean, the movement patterns are so drilled into her mind. She kind of feels like a fish out of water trying to set up to throw punches. How is your viewership on this card versus UFC? Pretty commensurate. I mean, it depends on the UFC event. It depends. And now we have to hear from CM Punk. I don't give a fuck, bro. I just don't care. I hear Nemo Fazil has signed to fighting in the Contender Series for a UFC contract. Personally, he should just sign to the main roster instead. Yeah, he fought on tonight's card. I don't know how reliable that is of information, but I guess we'll see. I hope for Ronda's sake that she doesn't lose because she is one of the worst, most sore losers in history. It'll be interesting to see. You're right. She is one of the most sore losers in MMA. It will be okay. Alicia Baumgartner. It'll be interesting to see. Who is this? Dax Shepard? Yes. Chinwe Ogwumike, I think is how you say your name. Carmen Electra? Is that Carmen Electra? Jesus. Yeah, it shouldn't look that bad for her age. Oh, it's the dude who made Avatar, James Cameron. I know he's made more than Avatar. David Spade. I don't give a fuck about David Spade. Dude, look at Tommy Lee with his big old pecker. Huh? Got tattoos on the face now, Tommy? Of course you do. There's Michael Irvin, excuse me. Boy, he's lit right now. Oh, they're launching his podcast, The White House with Michael Irvin. Okay. I don't know what that's about, but all right. The Intuit Dome looks amazing, doesn't it? It looks so sick. Oh, anyway, we didn't get to it, but like if Ronda loses, how she takes that would be I hope this time she takes it better if it ends up being. Seems unlikely that she would, but stranger things have happened. Ant, you can just email me. It's fine. I'll have it up. It's fine. Just email me. What would you rate this Netflix MMA fight card? I mean, the card itself, I mean, it's, I don't know, 6 or 7. Do you think Netflix can make another banger fight card? I think there are some other ways they could. Just I didn't see this one coming. Did you guys see Rousey versus Carano coming on January 1st? I sure as fuck didn't. So it's what kind of rabbits can they pull out of their hats? I don't know. Prime Gegard is so good, but he would indulge Strickland style too much, in my opinion. Don't know who wins, but definitely yes. Yes, exactly. It would definitely be a split decision. That is for sure true. For sure. Because Gegard wouldn't get overwhelmed. Probably neither would Strickland because his defense is so good. It would just be trench warfare, and I don't know how that one goes, Also, that was a great game plan by Perry. Use elbows since Diaz gets cut so easily, especially if they thought Diaz would clinch for their takedown. Yeah. And again, the body work with the knees, the body work with the body shots themselves. And then when he tried to clinch up top, whack, just those slashing elbows. He did great. Appreciate the chat tonight, Luke, checking in from the campground to watch some elder millennials throw down on Netflix. Hell yeah, brother. Last time I saw Gina fight, I hadn't even turned 30. Never seen you drink water. It's pretty good. I drink water all the time. Just not on these broadcasts. I like to have something sweet when I do this. I don't know. It's a thing. I like to have something sweet, but that's funny. That's a good one. Did it take 10 years for Ronda's contract to expire? I'm not. She might have had some other kind. She had an old contract, so she might have had a sunset clause before they got smart to, all the different tricks people were playing. It's also possible that they just cut her loose, that she was obligated to UFC, but that, they were like, we'll just let you go and do your thing. Arnold Allen just turned in a dominant performance. Hell yeah, bro. I like Milky Costa. I like Milky Costa's story, but I was worried that if Allen lost this, it would be kind of bad, but I'm so glad to hear that. That's awesome. I can't wait to watch. Which top 3 UFC fighters do you think have the least God-given talent and have climbed their way to the top through hard work and mental strength? I don't know, dude. Tim Sylvia would be one. Tim Sylvia would be the biggest one by far, literally and figuratively. The other two, Roxanne Modafferi might be one. I'm not sure about the third. I don't know. I seriously doubt Connor's ability to make 170, man. I mean, 155, I could believe him not making it. If he can't make 170, that'd be a bad sign, wouldn't it? I can't stand Jake Paul, but this is much more watchable than the current UFC production. The pacing is kind of killing me. It oddly has less sponsors and commercials. I know, it's like people don't understand this because it's obvious what's happening now that like the UFC controls. Like, why did the UFC take away the fighters having their own ads? It's to take control of that market and to make all of the money from it, right? That's the whole, or most of the money from it. That's the idea. But you have to remember, at the time, one of the parts of the debate was, well, all those ads make it look low rent. This would be a great way to clean it up. And on some level, there's something to be said for that. But the reality is, you can see, even when they don't have that rule in place and fighters are able to have their own sponsor, does it really take away from anything? At the end of the day, does it really do that? I can understand when there can be some restrictions that might need to be placed on that. But in general, it's, we all know what the score is. They're just doing that to take the money from it. It's got nothing to do with, oh, we have to clean up the look. And then the cage itself is just completely littered with ads, but you have to, I'm telling you, there was a time in the sport where people would say shit like that. They'd be like, you got to clean it up, man. You can't have all those ads out there. And UFC was like, yeah, that's it. Yeah. And then eventually it was just more ads and more ads and more ads. And now TKO was like, fuck it. Let's just throw all the ads on there, For combat sports to reach its full potential, it needs 2-hour broadcast length total. Oh my God, bro. You're so right. This shit is just painful. All right, here comes Gina. Let's get this going, y'all. All right. Pump the brakes on the super chats because I want to save them for after. We're going to do the post-fight show when this is over. So save your I appreciate them all, but save them now for the post-fight show. Please, please, please. What do you think production budget was for the Holloway McGregor announcement? Where is it Strickland like call it in the cage with Ariel when you need one? I didn't see it, so I can't really comment on it. I don't know what the trimmings were. Next BMF title fight, Oliveira versus Usman at 170. I don't want to see that. Thank you, sir. Shout out Tommy Lee honking the horn with his piece. That's a legendary horn. Uncle Luke with the unintentional 6-7. You guys are funny tonight. You guys make me laugh. Ronda is the Lauren Boebert of MMA. She giving hand jobs to people at a Beetlejuice showing. The White House was a house that was 90s cowboys rented to have infamous parties and cheat on their wives. Ah, I see. Very good. Okay. All right. Save the super chats, y'all. Save them. Here's Gina. Let's get my glasses back on. I mean, I don't know what to expect, y'all. She hasn't fought in 17 years, and she was not that great even when she did. Ronda is a lifelong. I mean, I'll just say this again because of Ronda being so shop worn. It's not that I'm dismissing the possibility of a Carano win. I just think the likeliest reality is it's probably not the case. But as a general rule, when a fighter brags about losing weight and how important that was for them, either from time off or if an injury, it's a little less so. But like when they turn their fight story and their reason why into like an episode of The Biggest Loser, that is typically a red flag. Not always, not always. And it's not to say we want to diminish the human achievement of it, but I got to be honest, I don't give a shit. Like that to me kind of tells me you've been having to worry about a lot of other things aside from getting good, you know. In one of the lawsuits against UFC, they argue for a judge to put his foot down and make contracts max 2 to 3 years. Anyway, John could get out that way. Yes, if that were to happen. Yes, if that were to happen. BC is rock hard with emotion right now. Let's text him. He's sending me hater shit. I won't say what about, but it's fucking hilarious. Dude, I'm telling you, y'all think you know BC. You do. To an extent you do, but private BC is a whole special kind. All right. Now here comes Ronda. She's typically coming out to, what is it, Joan Jett, Bad Reputation? Let's see if she does it. Let's see what kind of reception she gets. Hard to tell. It kind of sucks how you can't hear the song because that was a big part of her personality in the UFC shows. All right. Looks like it's a decent crowd, I guess. All right. Here's Ronda. Ronda might be the first woman who has long hair in MMA who didn't do cornrows. I'm not hating. I'm just saying. If Conor wins, he's getting a title shot. Beware. At welterweight, maybe. All right, she's getting Vaseline put on her face. Guys, if you look at her fights in the UFC, they can sometimes go as little as 16 seconds, sometimes as little as a minute. I would say the longer this goes, the more it might favor Carano. But don't be surprised if this goes 20 seconds. You know what I mean? It's very, very possible. Ronda also looks to be in phenomenal physical condition. Wow, she's got no sponsors on the trunks? Really? That's weird. Not making no money from that, huh? What do y'all think about this dude, Big Mo, the ring announcer? I like him all right. I don't hate it, certainly. All right, no more super chats. Come on. Conor versus Max will be the last MMA event I'll ever go to outside of regionals. I'm going to spend an irresponsible amount of money on tickets. Be safe now. Don't spend your rent money. I mean, there's definitely a lot of empty seats, but it's filled enough for TV. Lower bowl looks nice. Or the floor, I should say. That wraparound screen at the top of the Intuit Dome is fucking gorgeous. Here we go. You know what? People shit on LA. I love LA. I'm not saying it doesn't have its problems. It's got its problems. The Marab is there in the corner. It's got its problems, but shouts to all the good people of LA. Great town. Do you think Connor extended his contract? He had to have. I mean, maybe he didn't, but I'd be shocked if he didn't. Definitely have my pants around my ankles for this. All right, let's lock in, boys. Let's lock in. Let's lock in. All right, here's Gina. She L steps a lot. You guys know L stepping? These are your feet, and you normally go like this, right? Where it's almost kind of in a line, but it's like, it's actually front foot first, but front foot first, back foot. And L step is when you actually you draw an L with your legs, and it helps you to cut an angle, or to you can actually escape and turn out depending on how you're going. But you actually, if you're this way, the front foot comes down, and then the back foot goes out, so it makes an L. She L steps a lot, and that can be a problem because you can go, depending on how you do it, you can bring your feet together a lot, and then you can get timed. So I don't know how long that's going to matter here, but again, don't be surprised if this fight lasts 30 fucking seconds, everyone. Venice Beach is also beautiful. Golly, man. The weather in Southern California. All right. Here we go. The icon. All right, here we go, boys. Don't blink. Here we go. All right. It's scheduled for 5. I don't think we're going to need it. Here we go. Here we go. Zoom in, Netflix. Let's do it. Double leg takedown. Ronda goes right to mount. This is terrible. Ronda has she can do arm bars from here, and she's about to. Yeah, that's gonna be it. That's it. Fight's over. Told you. Jesus Christ. This is what this was like. I mean, one of them is an athlete, and one of them is a person who had a nice run on The Biggest Loser. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's the Ronda Rousey experience. That's what if you missed it in 2015, that's what that is. That's what that is. Oh, they're both crying. All right, they had to do their thing. Y'all are gonna shit on Ronda, and we'll talk about this in the post-fight show. But bro, you're gonna say, "Oh, she was dislikable." Da 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 da. She promoted this fight hard. How skillfully or artfully, there's a debate there, I grant. But in terms of effort, she put in a lot, dude. Yeah. I mean, what the fuck was that? That was, she did it in UFC too. People are like, oh, that fight was a joke. She did this shit in UFC too. I'm not saying that the quality of opposition is the same. That's not my point. It's not my point. But blowing through somebody in 20 seconds. Alexis Davis was 16-5 when she fought Ronda Rousey. She was 16-5 and was a jiu-jitsu black belt of many years, and Ronda beat her in 16 seconds. Come on. A lot of people were like, oh, Gina's going to win this. I'm like, I mean, again, I didn't want to dismiss the idea that a punch could land, but Ronda's been a world-class athlete since she was 9. Here we go. Look. Boom. Double leg. Pass right to mount. Terrible defense from Gina. Absolutely god-awful. She's got the wrong wrap here. She gets her hand peeled, right? Punching. Ronda sits through on the left arm and then goes over. And then, it was just textbook. Everything textbook. Yeah, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Whoop. Good double leg, right to mount. I like that. Right, look at that. It's going to peel the head. Let's see how she sets up the left or the right arm. Scoots up, not quite on chair sit, elbow. There she chair sits, and then there she does it. Boom. Or semi chair sit. Just like that. Yeah. Yeah, dude. We're going to do a post-fight show. We're going to do a post-fight show. I want to hear what she has to say. You know, I want to, dude, if she's really done, if Ronda, that was a bank robbery if she's done. Now, I have a feeling that that may not be true that she's done, but if she is done, that was a bank robbery. That's crazy. But, you know, this is what happened all the time. All the time. Tougher opposition, I grant. But, you know, like there was a lot of Ronda slander on the timeline this past week, and then really for a couple of weeks at this point. And again, I'm not sitting there saying all of it wasn't deserved. But for example, people were trying to make arguments like, oh, no one ever compared her to Mike Tyson. And I saw this commentary. Mike Tyson compared himself to her. Dana White compared him to Mike Tyson. Like this was a thing that happened all the time because she would do this. There'd be this big long buildup. Fight would start. 30 seconds later, she's fucking armbarring someone. Boom. Oh, why are you doing inside cut kick off a charging opponent? You fucking idiot, Gina. Pushes it over. Right? Let go of the head. Get your arms tucked. You're done. Boom. That's it. Tap. Look at that. 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 Yeah, man. Okay, now you can fill up the super chats because we got a lot to talk about. All right, here's the official result. Dude, Gina was just happy to get out of the house. Straight up. 17 seconds. Technically, Gina beat Alexis Davis by 1 second. All right, let's see what I do want to hear what Ronda has to say, and then we'll kick the post-fight show off. There are double legs in judo. It's called Morote Gari. They've since outlawed the use of them in competition, but that wasn't always the case. Like there are double legs in judo. Kenny's right that it's traditionally associated to be a wrestling technique, but it need not be. You find a lot of these grappling arts, they often had the same answer or pretty similar answers for the same problems. Give you an opportunity to pour your heart out. What's going through your mind? All right, here's Ronda. Gina is the person who brought me into the ring. She's the only person who brought me back into the ring. She's my fucking hero, man. Like you. She has very nice things to say about Gina, which is good to hear. She thanks MVP. She thanks Netflix. She's thanking everyone watching at home. Nothing interesting so far. Hang on. I don't know what these questions are. Ronda's just basically thanking everybody, her kids, her family, her coach, her team. Where's Travis Brown? Is she still with Travis Brown? All right. What about seeing more of Ronda Rousey? Let's see. There better be yes. So no, she's not coming back, dude. What the? That was a big, bro. That was a bank robbery, bro. That was a fucking bank robbery, bro. Here's Gina. Holy shit, bro. All right, Gina says she felt good. She wanted the fight to go longer. Oh, there's Travis Brown. Okay. I don't need to see them smooching. Thanks. I'm good on that. You can take that shit off my screen. Yeah, Gina's just saying she wanted more of an opportunity to fight, and she says she was 240. I'm like, bro, Gronk is 240. Tim Tebow is 240. You were 240? Are those the big old girls that Charles Barkley talks about in Galveston, Texas? All right, now what about her? Is she going to keep fighting? She says she's not sure. So it seems like maybe not, but who knows? She goes, I should have got matched up with a striker. She's right. Yeah, she's just saying it wasn't very easy to get in here. All right. All right, here's Nikisa. Why are we listening to fucking Nikisa? Like, we're losing. I don't care about any of this. All right, let me get the tweet up and then we'll get this post-fight show going. Here's Jake Paul. Let me get this up and then we'll get going. What does this win mean for Rousey? Let's talk about it next. Join me. Okay. Got that up. All right. Yeah, okay. I mean, there's a lot of Travis Brown and Ronda Rousey smooching on my screen, and I got to be honest, I would rather get shot in the face with liquid Ebola. Thank you. Please stop doing that, Netflix. A lot of love fest on this broadcast. Ariel doing some announcing there, it seems like. All right. I think that's that. All right. Let's do the post-fight show. Let's do it. Okay. Let's talk about that card. But first, let's set a bit of some ground rules here. Number one, if you got a question for the Q&A portion, go ahead and put that in now. Put it in a super chat if you'd be so kind. It's great to support the channel. Please do that. It'd be really, really great if you did. Okay? That'd be awesome. So do that now. Like the video, hit subscribe, send to everyone around because we're going to get this going. All right. Without further ado, we got to get this thing started. So let's get my, what do you want to call it? Rousey versus Carano, MVP MMA 1. Let's talk about this one. The post-fight show starts now. Okay, before we get to the analysis, as you guys fill up the super chat and all that fun stuff, let me tell you about one quick thing. It's actually important. They're a big supporter of this channel, and we love them. You know what I'm talking about. Very quickly, it's the Perfect Gene. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you about our partners, Perfect Gene, who I just re-signed with all the way through Christmas, donks. Perfect Gene solved a big problem for me. I'm too tall, and my legs are too effing big for just off-the-rack jeans to feel comfortable. The Perfect Gene, though, has real stretch, and they fit guys who actually have real man builds. The jeans move when I move, but they do not look like gym pants pretending to be jeans. They look good. And don't believe me, take my wife's word for it. They have waists from 26 to 52, lengths from 26 to 38, and fits from skinny to thick, including athletic, which is the one guys with bigger thighs should look at. You donks get it 15% off your first order plus free shipping at theperfectgene.nyc or Google The Perfect Gene and use the code, all one word, LukeLive15, LukeLive15. You get 15% off. Again, our listeners get 15% off their first order plus free shipping at theperfectgene.nyc or Google The Perfect Gene and use the code LukeLive15 for 15% off. There we have it. Now, let me change one thing here. My screen will just blip for a moment, and then we'll be good. I'm going to switch something up, and then we're going to get this done like this. Bop, there we are. All right. Let's do it. And I turn this off. Stop virtual camera. Okay. Let's talk about it. All right. This fight card is in the books. What do you want to call it? Rousey versus Carano. You can call it MVP MMA 1. I don't really know what to call it. It's the first MMA event on Netflix. Before we talk about the individual results, this is a little harder in some ways, a little easier in others to do than a traditional UFC post-fight show. And the reason I'm going to turn off this Netflix because I don't need to see this shit anymore. But the reason why, here, let's just kill that. The reason why is because, well, it's hard. A lot of these were squash matches. There was only one fight that went past the first round. There's just a lot that makes it kind of hard to spin forward. And again, this is not even an organization that we even know will have us, or a union, I should say. We don't know if they're going to have a second event. We don't know even with who that would be, especially given what Ronda said after the fact. So this might be a little unusual. I don't have data to look at punch numbers like we normally would. This was not premier MMA in that sense, but it was premier MMA maybe in a different sense. Before we talk about Ronda and before we talk about this fight, I want to make one more point. I made this during the stream, but I think I'm going to make it again right now because we have some people coming in off of this, which is very basically, if this event does poorly, and it did not kill it at the gate, I don't think it did poorly at the gate, but it certainly did not kill it. I guess we'll see what the end of, we'll see what the announcement is for the final numbers, but it did not kill it. I guess we'll see. But that's not the most important one. It's not great for optics, as I previously mentioned, but it's not what's going to make or break this event. The viewership is the thing that's going to make or break this event. And I really don't know how it's going to do. But like for MMA's sake, it needs to do well. And the reason why is you might look at the fights tonight and you can say they were all squash matches, and most of them were. And a bunch of old people, and it definitely had a bunch of old people. And I don't even know what they're going to build off of now that Ronda's not going back and Gina's probably not going to do this again. And would you even, like, what does it even all mean? These are all completely legitimate, fair, and frankly correct criticisms. This event was kind of frivolous. It was, not completely, but in a lot of ways, it certainly was. I mean, the prelim card was less frivolous in certain ways than the main card. But what it had is big, huge money. Think about who is putting money into MMA right now. I have lived through an era where it was a fucking arms race among television networks, media outlets, media companies to get on board with the juggernaut that was MMA. And it was growing month by month, year by year. The difference was dramatic. You couldn't believe the amount. And that's just not been the way things have gone in MMA recently. We lost Bellator. One is certainly on its last legs. I mean, it might continue a little while longer, but they're $500 million in debt. They'll never pay that money back. You know that. And I know that. And so you got PFL out there, but PFL is offering a product that is more like traditional, organizational MMA. They don't do a bunch of gimmick fights. They don't have a bunch of huge tentpole events like this. That's not really what they do. They do like good events and traditional events. But the point I'm trying to make is that's a very different product and a very different aesthetic than what you got tonight, which might have been frivolity, but it was high budget frivolity. It is a very different model and a very different pitch to a very different audience than the kind of pitch that PFL is making. If neither of them can turn an audience, that to me, married with data that we have among the big three markets, the United States, Brazil, and Russia, of a contraction in the overall number of MMA events globally or certainly nationally that's happening, and this trend has been going on for some time, this would be a very bad sign to me about the health of MMA. That doesn't preclude the UFC from doing a very big number for their White House event, which I think they will do. I do think that is true. I think they're going to, the reality is Trump's polarization can be off-putting to some, but it's magnetizing for others. At a bare minimum, creates amount of controversy, and certainly the fight game thrives on that. And again, it's seemingly a one and done kind of an event, right? So there's a certain level of anticipation in that regard. It's going to do a big number. There's really no question. And they come off a weekend or 2 weeks ago or last weekend, whatever it was, where UFC 328, where they've done some big numbers. So UFC seems to be okay, but everything else in MMA seems to be suffering. Regional promoters, as I've mentioned, have been telling me they've got all kinds of problems, and it's an unfortunate situation. So if MVP with Jake Paul's, he's not a great boxer, but he's a good promoter, with Netflix's money and the celebrity of Ronda Rousey, among other actors, Nate Diaz and other ones, if that can't also pull an audience, even on just one single night, well, what kind of MMA can, beyond like UFC on occasion? And even then, UFC can't really do it all the time. Those Apex events, you couldn't take those and sell tickets. Like, yeah, they sell tickets to the Apex, but you can't take it to like New Orleans. You can't take that to Boise. It's not going to do anything. So you just have to ask yourself, like, if it's contracting, that's one thing, but maybe like big budget MMA people will actually turn in for it. It'll get casual fans. It'll do a good rating. Maybe so. I hope for MMA's sake that it does, because if the more like straight-laced thing of the PFL doesn't work and the kind of circus big budget frivolity of MVP doesn't work, well, then not much works outside of the confines of the single dominant promoter, who's also having their own issues with fan enthusiasm and retention. Not great. So let's see what kind of number it does. Hopefully it does a decent, respectable number, and we can, say that there might be some issues with MMA like there is for a lot of things right now, but it's not existential. So we'll see. Okay. I just want to say that up front. I don't want the frivolity of the fights to dismiss what the significance of Netflix's attempt with MVP could actually mean for the sport of mixed martial arts in 2026. That being said, let's talk about the fights. Okay. Ronda Rousey submits Gina Carano in 17 seconds. Let me pull up Ronda's resume here, if I may. I'll put my glasses back on, too. I should have had this up before, but I didn't because I'm unprepared. Let's put this up, shall we? All right. Ronda Rousey, who currently sits at 39 years of age. All right. Jesus. Okay. Let's get this up. All right. She submits her in 17 seconds. Other fights she's had that have ended early was 14 seconds with Kat Zingano, 16 seconds with Alexis Davis, 34 seconds with Bethe Correia, although she punched her lights out. She didn't submit her. 54 seconds against Sarah Kaufman in Strikeforce, 39 against Julia Budd, 25 against Sarah D'Alelio, and then 25 against Ediane Gomes, and then 49 against Charmaine Tweet. All right, so this is not necessarily an unusual. Let me get my glasses. Where the fuck did I put them? This is not necessarily an unusual way for Ronda Rousey to win. She wins pretty quickly. I realized that she had lost her last two, but okay. I'm not saying this like I'm mad at Ronda, because I'm honestly not. I actually appreciate what they attempted tonight. Whether it was successful, you can be the judge in the end, and we'll see the numbers. But I appreciate that they tried to do something with a non-UFC entity for MMA's sake. How much it ends up being in the end, we shall see. All right? I don't know. But I am glad that she did. Okay. Disclosed purses. Ronda Rousey, $2.2 million. There can always be more. Gina, $1 million. Nate Diaz, $500K. Mike Perry, $400K. Francis, $1.5 million. Felipe Lins, $100K. Now, that's not the sum total of what they've been paid, but that's what they've reported to the commission. There can be other bonuses extended, in the course of that. I'm not mad at Ronda for what happened tonight. I'm not. But that was a bank robbery. That was a bank robbery. Your intention was to come out of retirement after a decade for an opponent profoundly overmatched. Honestly, like, one of the storylines coming out of tonight is not just the matchmaking that MVP did, but the California Commission sanctioning some of these fights. And I've given them the benefit of the doubt, but then they came out in favor of the Ali Act destruction. Ronda's mom sits on the board. The approval of these fights, they also approved Chuck Tito 3 when De La Hoya was trying his cockamamie bullshit. I got to tell you, I was not impressed with the officiating tonight. Herb Dean, after Felipe Lins got laid out, just watching him before. Luckily, Francis didn't do any more. If you guys didn't see the Pumi Nakuda fight with Adriano Moraes, they fucked that one up. It seems like, I'll wait on more information, but from what we can tell, it appears to me like they really got that one wrong. A lot of stuff I haven't liked, to say nothing of the matchmaking, to say nothing of the approval by the commission. Didn't love that, if I'm being honest. Didn't love that. Okay. But Ronda Rousey, who I'm telling you, it's God bless her, bro. She did something for MMA today, and I think she kind of needed to, and I'll get to that in a minute. But that was a bank robbery. She got the people excited for a person who, people are trying to swear to me was the same size as Tim Tebow and Gronk before this whole process. And God bless her for losing the weight. Like, that's not like an unimpressive thing. It's a very impressive thing, but that's not really going to fill me with confidence for your chances in a cage fight against an Olympic bronze medalist in judo. And sure enough, it didn't go right. People are going to be like, oh, it's a wrestling takedown, not a judo takedown. But the reality is the Morote Gari is also a judo takedown, just not one that's been more recently used. But Ronda hasn't been competing in judo for a long time anyway, so who gives a shit? She knows how to do a double leg takedown. She gets it. She immediately goes to mount. She peels the grip of her headlock. She then sits through for the right arm. It's just textbook stuff. She just does it very quickly. The judokas tend to have like a really good Juji Gatami game. They have very good setups. They're fast about it because you have to be in judo. You have to be explosive to get something. Otherwise, stalemates can happen and you have to get stood up and it can be a problem. So they like quick limb submissions. And there's also the Kanto strangle. They have some gi chokes too. But in general, they like stuff that's more immediate than not. She bulldozes right through her like a black belt going up against a white belt. That's exactly what it looked like. Gina looked like a fish completely out of water. And the fight's over, and then she says she doesn't want to do anything else. It's in MMA anymore, and she wants to go back to having a family, which is certainly her right, and I can respect that. I just mean the amount getting paid that amount of money. I mean, she didn't get paid that amount of money to fight Gina. She got paid that amount of money to promote this fight because she did a shitload of that. And you can like her promotion, you can hate her promotion, but that's what that money is for. That money, that money is for all the promo work she had to do. It's not for the fight was child's play. Child's play. Big bank take little bank. And for all the people being like, oh, Carano's got a great chance, and you were not around to watch Carano fight, you were not around to watch Rousey fight. I know Rousey's MMA ending, or I should say now her UFC ending, it went poorly, but dude, she's a world-class athlete and an Olympic medal winner. Like, how bad could she possibly be? Yeah, limited against Amanda Nunes, or certainly, obviously Holly beat her and then couldn't hold on to the belt. I get that too, but I mean, come on, like you got there was just again the erasure of Ronda Rousey was just such a strange phenomenon. But I think what I want to say is, well, that was a total bank robbery by Ronda. I mean, she just went up to the Brinks truck and was like, empty it and put it in the fucking van. I'm gonna get out of here. It seemed like something else was happening here. At least the online fan base was very hostile to Ronda this week. And again, I'm not saying totally without good reason, but they were. And again, it led to like this weird denial of who she was and what she contributed. And there's limits to that too, but they wouldn't even give her the things she actually did. And yet now that this is over, it just seems to me what this event is that Ronda was making a deal with the MMA fan base, which is that I'm going to try to get somebody else to do something good in MMA, but as the exchange, I'm going to like end my career on a high note, in a really easy fight, like comically easy. Like honestly, that fight should not have been made. And we said it as much. The fight shouldn't have been made for all kinds of reasons, but it shouldn't have been made. And so like this is going to be totally frivolous. There's going to be nothing to build on, but I'm going to at least get the Netflix foot in the door. And then that way I get to end my career on a different kind of high. I'm not going to end it with Amanda Nunes punching my lights out. You know what I mean? It's not going to go that way. And I don't know if that's a fair trade to you. It seems like a fair trade to me, to be honest with you. I don't think any of us were really looking to this fight to what's the long-term meaning of this fight? The long-term meaning of this fight is whatever it contributes to this effort to sustain itself on Netflix after she's gone. That's the only measurement of any of that. It doesn't, but I think for her own sanity, for her own mental health, for her own, I think, peace of mind with MMA, she wanted this kind of storybook ending. And I think part of it was, I'm going to give the fan base this other way to look at the sport with an entrant of a huge financial and broadcasting entity. And that'll be just the trade. You can decide if that trade is worth it. Many of you probably will not. I don't begrudge it. I don't think there's one right answer. But it felt like to me that's kind of what this was. It felt like to me she was trying to make a trade on her way out the door. I don't want to end on the Amanda Nunes thing. I want to get a nice clean win. But let's try and do something a little bit different for the fan base in order to set that up. And I guess they would have done it happily with UFC too. It didn't necessarily have to be this particular dimension. It only ended up in this dimension because the UFC denied their interest in having this at all. But it just kind of felt like that to me, having watched all of this, because that fight was worthless. It was worthless. I'm not even super mad about it because, again, she was doing this to like some of her competitors back in the day too, who were not bullshit fighters. And, it just is like, well, I mean, what are you going to do? But that was a bullshit fight. That was a bullshit fight. That was a bullshit fight in every way. I'm not mad at Gina either. Gina getting her life together. Dude, I think Gina, it sounds like I'm being demeaning. I swear to God, I'm not. I think she was just glad to be out of the fucking house and to go do something fun and thrilling and taxing and difficult and public and interesting and challenging, to feel alive, honestly, out there. And I can respect that, but that doesn't make for interesting fighting. It doesn't make for skill. It doesn't, I mean, and what were we all expecting anyway? Ronda's been off for 10 years, Gina off for 17. I'm sorry to say this. She was good at a time when no one was good, or very few anyway were good. And I don't know what other way this was supposed to go. In all likelihood, this was silly. Do y'all have interest in seeing Gina Carano again? I'll say this. She said she wanted to get matched up with a striker. If there's someone that could indulge that, I wouldn't necessarily hate that. I don't know if you can build around that because Gina didn't really promote this fight. Gina was a promotional figure in the fight to an extent, but she had no rivalry with Ronda. She didn't do much media. You can say Ronda was overexposed last week and trying to do media. Nate was doing it too, in fairness to Nate, and Francis did some as well. But, Ronda was doing the lion's share of it. Ronda was doing the vast, vast majority of it. The vast majority of it. And I think, that overexposed her to a degree, but you could at least appreciate the it's a slog. It's a slog to do all of that. I got a message here. Let's see. A lot of people are saying that Ronda versus Gina was fixed. Why would that be fixed? Do y'all think Ronda can't do that? Gina is back in Star Wars, new leadership there. I mean, I guess she can do that now. I don't know. You have to be a dumbass of epic proportion to think that that's fixed. To think that the world-class athlete versus the biggest loser would go any other way in all likelihood, right? 99.9% of the time. Could have been maybe that 0.01, who knows? But it didn't. It went the way that most of the permutations in the modeling would send you. And for those who were there for her prime, this was a familiar sight. A lot of them went like this. This one was a little bit easier because on the Alexis Davis one, she spun her off a head and arm throw into scarf hold and then was just beating her this way, but the throw itself was dramatic. And then in the Kat Zingano one, Zingano kind of whipped her forward and she had to Rousey had to turn over and then come down and then catch an escaping Zingano with her hook on the far side hip and then had one of those behind the back arm bars after she sat off the back. So it was a little bit more clever and involved. This was more, the reason why this one was so bad is because the double leg was easy, the move to mount was easy, and the snatching of the arm, Gina's, what are we even talking about? Gina's ground game sucks, obviously. Her ground game's fucking terrible, obviously. Against somebody who's a world-class judoka or was a world-class judoka, this seems improbable. She has a full resume of doing this. She did it to Sarah McMahon, an Olympic silver medalist. What the fuck are we talking about? Sarah McMahon was an Olympic silver medalist in wrestling. And Ronda finished her off inside of a minute, I think. How long did that fight last? 1 minute and 6 seconds. There's no conspiracy here. Gina sucks. I'm not even, she's a great, I don't know about I'm not even going to get into the whole speech thing, but, she certainly carried herself with class during this process. Can we all agree that? You can, I love her because she's MAGA. I hate her because she's MAGA. Fine, pick your side. I don't care. But we can agree that during this process, she carried herself with class, right? She sucks. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be a dick, but what are we talking about here? Maybe on the feet, it's a little different. Again, we talked about this. Do you want to see her matched up? We can talk about that. But on the ground, her ground game's terrible. How could it be good? How could it be good? So I don't know how I don't know how MVP is going to spin this one. I don't know how they're going to move this one forward. You may have Gina. I don't know who that would be against. You don't have Ronda. Just a weird thing that this whole thing, it just seemed to me, I'm going to wrap it up and we'll move on. It just seemed to me that Ronda wanted a different exit from MMA. And this was the thing that she wanted. The question is, did she deliver any kind of value beyond the indulgence of wanting a different ending to her career? And time will tell. I do think she put in an effort to get that. Whether it was enough, I don't know. Let's talk about the most interesting result on this card, if I can. And again, if you got a question, you can put it in the super chat. We'll get to it here in a minute. Mike Perry defeating Nate Diaz at basically the end of the second round. Nate had some moments where he was able to make a push off the jab. He had a couple of like double right hooks. He had some good body work. He had some okay clinch work. He had a couple of combinations, especially towards the middle end of the first round, where he bloodied Mike Perry's nose. He did a little bit of work. He didn't completely get mowed through, but in general, he got run over. In general, the real key thing was obviously you knew that Mike was going to be a little bit more spry, probably the harder hitter of the two, and then on top of it, just going to be more active as well. But the really interesting part was the clinch. Nate often likes to take the clinch and then press a guy into it and then do some work there and slow the fight down at times. And on the feet, like you could see that either a lot of times Nate was getting countered with Mike's right hand. So he would punch with him to counteract with him. He was doing a lot of that. Or he jabbed. He had his own jab working, but he was a little bit like he was just throwing a lot more and he was throwing with more intensity. And then in the clinch, where Nate, I think, thought he was going to have an advantage, you had Mike Perry landing knees to the body, like the good body work generally, punching too, but definitely the knees to the body were lighting Nate up. You could see he was hurting. He was like, I was even remarking on the live stream, he was breathing heavy, even in the first round. And we all know Nate's for the most part, has really good conditioning. So that's, if he's doing that, something's off. And he hung on, he pushed back in times, but he got dropped. He got dropped twice in the second round, I believe. He gets out of the first round, but he clearly loses it because in the clinch, Mike Perry is going to the body with knees, going to the body with punches, and then he's slashing with elbows off frames over the top. And this ends up through the course of the first and second round, cutting Nate on both the back of his head and the side of his head and the front of his head, to the point where he gets dropped twice, or at least it looked like he got dropped twice. He got dropped once, and then he got kind of knocked over in the second one upon replay. That final knee that Mike Perry threw didn't land, but like the jumble of it kind of just pushed Nate over. And so it looked like he got dropped twice. His face completely covered in blood. You could see him trying to wipe it out through the course of that bout. The more he got cut up. Stitch Duran, one of the best cut men in all of combat sports, not just MMA, boxing too. Think about how good you have to be. Different kinds of cuts, different gloves, different kind of things. He's good at both of them. He did his best to put a fucking stop to that. And, again, Nate was getting like that round started with a little bit of a slower pace round two, but by the middle and then certainly by the end of it, Nate was getting just put through the wood chipper by Mike Perry. And again, partly because he couldn't see. There was no respite in the clinch. He's completely covered in blood. Stitch Duran's trying to fix him up, and he is just still leaking everywhere. And the cuts are going all in his eye. Nate Diaz is 42 years old. He was getting his ass kicked. They couldn't stop the bleeding. So Stitch Duran turns to the referee and is like, we can't send him out there. And they don't. And that is just such an excellent call by Stitch Duran. I have such great respect for Stitch Duran because Stitch knows what fucking time it is. This guy is above 40 years old. This is looking bad. I can't stop the bleeding, and it is affecting his ability to see. What are we doing here? And by the way, it looked like he had gotten dropped twice in that round, but he had a bare minimum had gotten dropped once. It was going real bad. I do not know what this is going to do for Nate's stock. I really don't know. I sometimes I think his stock is, untouchable, and the other times I think it is ready to collapse. I don't really know. I don't know. I don't know what this does for any potential UFC return. I don't know what this does for the appetite. I leave that to the MMA fan base, the Nate Diaz fan base. They will decide. They have a plausible, or they're going to use the fact that he didn't get stopped and that it was the cuts as a way to say that, like, hey, who knows what could have happened in the third, which is true technically, but doesn't seem likely that it would have gone his way. He's 42. I don't know how much more fighting he needs to be doing. I'll be honest about that. I don't know how much more he needs to be doing. I'm not saying, Mike Perry's career has been remarkable after leaving the UFC. Mike Perry, since leaving the UFC, I just want you to understand, here's who he was beating in the UFC before. Danny Roberts, Jake Ellenberger. He did beat Paul Felder, but that was split decision, and Felder was a natural lightweight. He beat Cowboy Oliveira, Mickey Gall, right? Okay. And then, he goes on to BKFC, and listen to these names: Michael Venom Page, Luke Rockhold, Eddie Alvarez, Thiago Alves, and Jeremy Stevens. Some old names for sure, but like listen to the quality of the name value of them. And now you can add Nate Diaz to the list. So you can add Nate Diaz, Michael Venom Page, Luke Rockhold, Eddie Alvarez, Thiago Alves, Jeremy Stevens, Nate Diaz. These are the best names he's beaten in his whole career by a million miles. So you just really have to respect what Mike Perry has done. And again, they had a good game plan. He didn't just wild out on them. I mean, there's a little bit of that too, but they had a good game plan. They carved this dude up in the clinch. They gave him no respite. I think he absolutely thought the clinch was going to be a place that he not only won, Nate Diaz thought that, but that he would be able to, at a bare minimum, slow it down. And it was hell on wheels in that particular spot. It didn't work that way at all. At all. So he had a great game plan. You really got to respect what Mike Perry has done for himself on a fairly limited, like you just look at his skill set. It's a fairly limited skill set relative to the achievements that he is now routinely racking up. He doesn't have lights out jiu-jitsu. He doesn't have lights out boxing. He doesn't have lights out wrestling. He's got powerful boxing. He's got a ton of grit, and he's got some, as you can see, weapons in the clinch. He's got good striking tools. Nothing like crazy, but good power too. Great power, maybe. But nothing like super, oh my God, this is the best of the division. Nope. And look what he's doing. It's amazing. It's amazing what he's able to do. I mean, part of the issue too is like you can say that Mike has a relatively speaking limited skill set relative to some of the names. Like Luke Rockhold's skill set at his peak was vast. He didn't have that. But like it's the same problem that Nate has. Like Nate, like I know he's got wins via submission, but like more recently, he just has kind of funneled all of his offense through boxing. And if that doesn't get the job done, then there really isn't much else to do. He's not getting a lot done with like a kicking game, a dynamic kicking game. He's got good jiu-jitsu, but it's a lot more reactive than proactive. His wrestling is not great. You know what I mean? Like it's like you're kind of handicapping yourself by like, oh, the prism of how I'm going to fight these is going to be through my boxing. And it's like, again, Ilia Topuria has done pretty good with some of that, but that's Ilia Topuria. It just feels like the Diaz brothers, that boxing for the Diaz brothers used to be a thing that they had ahead of the rest of the pack, right? They were doing boxing training with boxers in boxing gyms, training with Andre Ward long before the rest of the pack was. And that boxing gave them some real advantages. But it feels like the game is just totally like that. That's not a advantage anymore. Whatever that initial lead that they had on the MMA world has been totally overrun at this point. And he's 42, man. Like Nate is a legend. We all love Nate. I like Nate a lot. I think he's done a lot for himself. He's done a lot for the sport. I don't really know what's left for him. Like these guys are I don't think he's gonna retire, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if MVP is probably gonna still want to use him because it's Nate Diaz, but it makes matchmaking a little bit more difficult because you got to have somebody with a name, and I'm not sure who that would be. I honestly don't even know who that would be. Oh, really? Jake Paul and Nikisa both at presser talking up Diaz Perry too. MVP Netflix post-fight presser. They want Carano back for a fight, and their number one plan is to book a Perry Diaz rematch. Really? Okay. I don't know how that's going to go. I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see. I don't know, man. I have a lot of respect for Nate. I think it's time to start looking for an exit. That's my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. But for Mike Perry at 34 years of age, wonders never cease, man. Wonders never cease. That guy really turned his life around. I truly mean that. Or at least from what the outside looking in, it seems that way. Seems like he really got his shit together and got a good plan, found a good lane for himself, and has done phenomenally well. And honestly, like you really have to, it's just remarkable what he's achieved for himself. Very, 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 very unusual career for sure. That brings us to the Francis Ngannou fight. What do you want to say about that? Francis looked like he was chiseled out of stone. He beats Felipe Lins 431 of round number 1. Felipe Lins never stood a chance. He got dropped in this fight, I think, a couple times. I know he got dropped at the end there. Obviously, he got face planted. Big shouts to Francis for not polishing him off on the ground. Herb Dean just looking at him like, "Hey, you want to get up here?" it's like Herb, did you not see his head bouncing off the mat like a fucking basketball? But okay, Francis is terrifying. His high kicks looked good. He got hit a couple times, but I don't think Lynn's was much of a threat. The guy's fought at light heavyweight. His last win in the UFC was at light heavyweight. Another guy who's put himself in some good positions. He won a PFL championship. He had a decent run in UFC. Here he is on this Netflix card. Like, he also put himself, but he was totally overmatched. We knew he was overmatched. And tonight was just a reminder that, like, I don't know if Francis is the best heavyweight in the world, but he's got a claim at it. And the fact that we can't get that settled is insane. And John Jones being there tonight is also kind of insane to me, because they were talking up like, I'm going to get out his UFC contract. I realized that he's pissed at UFC, and we would all love it. I mean, I don't know. I don't care that John Jones ever competes again, but let's talk charitably and say, oh, wouldn't it be great if he could fight John Jones? Sure. Francis Ngannou. Sure. The guy bragged about signing an 8-fight deal in 2023. And then he finds himself here wearing a t-shirt on Netflix talking about, I would love to get out of my UFC deal. We all know you're not gonna. We all know that. So what do you do with Francis next? Part of what they did on the broadcast every single time, it seemed like, was just ask if they were going to fight Jake Paul. And then Jake Paul is undermining their win, kind of, sort of, or at least trying to take some of the spotlight from it by being there during these weird interactions, which I didn't love necessarily all that much. But yeah, man, I don't understand why the UFC can't just get right. Sending Francis back to the division, I don't know how many fights he's got left. I don't know if he would win them all, but he would be a fucking jolt of electricity to that division. And you know it, and I know it. We all know it. We all know it. He'd be a jolt of electricity. Did you see how the way he looked tonight? He always is obviously in great shape. He looked like in especially good shape tonight. He would be a fucking bolt of lightning. And in my view, UFC's heavyweight division could use that. But, they're petty. And I know they announced Conor McGregor's thing as well during, we'll talk about that tomorrow. I'll make a whole video about it. But so I don't know what to say about this. Like, Francis looked awesome. Didn't look perfect, but he looked pretty fucking great. He had an uppercut left hook that finished the show, came over the top with it. Lynn's went crashing to the mat. Lynn's did what Lynn's could do. Right? You can't be mad at the guy. Like, he did what he could do. Same with Gina. Gina did what she could do. They did what they could do. Like, these were squash matches, I would love to see Francis again. I would just love to see him in a bout of consequence. Because that was not this one. This was just a get right fight and a bit of a bank robbery job by him too, I suppose. More interesting to me was Saladin Parnasse defeating Kenny Cross, who I like a lot, at 4:18 of round number 1. Saladin Parnasse showed his quality tonight. Kenny Cross is a good fighter. He's a very good fighter. He can wrestle. He's in good shape. Trains with Team Syndicate. Nice kid. He's a good dude. He's a good opponent. And he was looking awesome when I called his fights a couple fights ago. Beat Enrique Barzola out of Bellator. Anybody who knows ball knows that's a pretty good win. And then he went up against Saladin Parnasse. Saladin Parnasse is fucking awesome. I hope everybody can see that now. You're going to be like, well, he's got, what did he prove by beating Kenny Cross? He's got a lot more to do. Yeah, okay, fair enough. But he was nearly a triple champ in KSW, was the double champ, 145 and 155. He also has recently done pro boxing. Dude, he fucking rocks. He can wrestle. He can strike. He's heavy-handed. He's clever. He can get up off the bottom. He's got good jiu-jitsu. Like, dude, I can't wait to see more from him. If there's anybody on this card whose future I'm excited about, Mike Perry might be one of them for sure. Definitely Saladin Parnasse. That dude is a can't miss prospect. Now I think you can see why all the hardcores have been super high on this guy for a while. It's not an accident. Okay, 170 was a bridge too far. So what? So what? Double champ anyway. And guy's just getting started. And when did he fight his last boxing fight? Let me see if they put it in here. He fought in October last year. He won a 6-round, 3-minute fight. He won by knockout in the second round. He's great. He's great. He's so fun to watch. And how old is he? Saladin Parnasse? He is 28. So, I mean, he's just now entering his physical prime. It's time to get this dude up the ladder. So, either MVP needs to do something really exciting with him, or they should let him cut bait and go to UFC, honestly, so we can get some interesting fights out of him. UFC just didn't want to pay this guy. He was at KSW, and I don't know what kind of relationship UFC has with KSW, and sometimes that can affect things. So, there might be something there. But also the fact that like they wanted him to take a big pay cut, and he was like, "No, dude, just pay this fucking guy. You guys got 1.1 billion a year. Fucking pay this guy. Pay this guy to do this. Put somebody exciting, like give us exciting fucking names. Put them in there. Francis is one. Parnass is another one at lightweight. I would love to see what he can do at lightweight. It looked to me like tonight he can do it all, or at a bare minimum, he's got very, very well-rounded skills. And I know Kenny Cross is but the first of many challenges in order for him to prove that he can do all those things. But he's been doing them in KSW too. Like very quickly, if you're not familiar with his resume, the last fight he lost was the one where he was going up to get the welterweight crown. He beat Marcin Held in January of this year. The Marcin's kind of old, but he defended the lightweight title, performance of the night, and he vacated in April. Like, he can beat grapplers, he can beat wrestlers, he can beat strikers, he can beat boxers, he can do a lot. He's good, and that is, to me, far and away the most exciting thing coming out of this card. As for Kenny Cross, I guess we'll see. I don't know why UFC at least doesn't put him on Contender Series, but it's tough to look good against Saladin Parnass. Like, Kenny Cross is probably gonna be like, fuck, man, this is gonna kill my resume, but I actually don't think so. I think that this one's gonna age a little well. And then Robelis, or Robelis, Despain defeats Junior Dos Santos. Dude, what the fuck was JDS doing? He shot one takedown. He got stuffed. Despain is so flat-footed that it's so easy to leg kick him. And JDS was landing some hard-ass leg kicks. Took him off of his feet, actually. That was the good thing that JDS was doing. Those leg kicks were dynamite. But JDS has been knocked out. Let's count them, shall we? Let's count the number of knockouts in the last few years. So let's see. He loses to Cain Velasquez via decision and took a beating in a 5-round fight, okay, in 2012. He loses to Cain Velasquez again, takes another beating. So those are horrible beatings. He loses to TKO to Alistair Overeem. He loses by TKO to Stipe Miocic. He loses by vicious TKO to Francis Ngannou. He loses by TKO to Curtis Blades, TKO to Rosenstruck, TKO to Gane, TKO via injury to Jorgen De Castro. He has a couple wins in bare knuckle MMA, beating Fabricio Verdum and then Alan Belcher, but both those guys are kind of old and past it. And then he goes and gets KO'd by that with a 3-piece fucking vicious combination. He gets KO'd by Despain. It's like, dude, you are doing unbelievable damage to your brain. Somebody around this dude tell him to fucking stop. And he got horribly KO'd tonight. Horribly KO'd. So if you care about that dude, tell him to stop. Please, I'm begging you. I think they wanted to set up a fight with Francis, but that went nowhere. You could do Francis versus Despain, but we all know what Francis is going to do. Francis is going to run across the cage, double leg him, and then pound that motherfucker into oblivion. That's not that interesting to me either, to be honest with you. So I don't really know what they're going to do. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to get a rabbit out of their hat. I don't know. I don't know. What do you want to say about the broadcast? I thought Morrow was good for the most part. He had some funny calls. I know he's not everyone's cup of tea. I think they made Ariel do a lot of talking. To me, the post-fight interviews were really long, but I think it's because the fights were so short that they needed to kill broadcast time. So they were probably telling Ariel to drag it out a little bit, which is not his fault. He's doing a job, but they were too long for me personally. I did not like the post-fight interviews. They went on. I just wasn't interested in that much information about them after the fact. And again, they also involved Jake Paul, interjecting, or Nikisa interjecting or something. I didn't care for that. Having John Jones on the desk seemed a little weird to me. If you don't remember this, early in the UFC's run on Fox, this is true. They brought on John Jones one night. He did have a suit. This was very, very early. And they had him on with other traditional Fox Sports personalities, not MMA ones per se. Like I think they had Kurt Menefee maybe on the broadcast. I have to go back and check, but they had John Jones on there, and he was terrible. Like everyone clowned him that night because he have notes and he was kind of like leaning back. And this is on Fox. Like you got to like lean up, be in a suit, be alert. Have a talking point, deliver it, make it. You're having a conversation. You have to change camera off the tail lights. Everything's moving. And he just had a really awful demeanor. He looked like he didn't even know how to have a conversation. Terrible analysis. And obviously John is was a great fighter, but he was awful. And then this reminded me of that, even though he was dressed down even more. It was weird. And again, teasing the audience, I'm going to get out of my UFC deal. You're going to die of old age before you get out of that deal, John. You're going to die of old age. They're never going to let you out of that. Come on. You know what I mean? Like, what are we talking about? No. He fought 2 fights off that deal. He signed an 8-fight deal. He fought 2. He owes them 6 UFC fights. He's going to die of old age before he gets out of that deal. So, but I will say, and there were audio issues with the broadcast tonight too. They would throw to someone and they'd be talking to us, but you could hear the reverberation in the house. I didn't love that. When I say the house, I mean like to the Intuit Dome in the audience there. I didn't love that. The visual presentation, however, I thought was spectacular. It quite literally looked phenomenal. So the visual, I will say this, to me, the big wins tonight were Saladin Parnasse, Mike Perry. We'll see if it's MMA. I don't know. We'll see when the numbers come out. But also the visual presentation was awesome. There were other production issues, but the visual side, I thought Netflix killed it. I thought that they slayed that shit. It looked awesome. I just don't know how you build off something which is full of squash matches. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. All right, I'm getting here. Tweet from one of the biggest Star Wars fans accounts that it's called That Star Wars Girl. And she writes, quote, "Tonight is my first time watching MMA. I had no idea how gay it was." 2 full-grown men holding each other, rolling around. Yeah, this is not for me. Gonna power through this for Gina, though. I'll say this. I used to be one of those guys who was like, I can't believe people say MMA is gay. I mean, I'm not like, it's not a judgment call, but that's just, you're just doing that because, you're trying to like tear it down. And now many years into it, I'm like, it's the gayest fucking sport on earth. There's nothing gayer. All right. Let's get to your questions. If you got one, you can fire it into the super chat. We'll do it now. Definitely have my pants around my ankles, this person writes. How much do judges make? Not much. It will depend on tenure. The most might make for huge fights. They could probably make a couple thousand, but in general, it's for the most part much, much lower than that. For in the hundreds typically. I just got back from taking a shit. What happened? A lot of fights. Easiest paycheck in history for Ronda. Yup, totally. All that training, 0 punches thrown in anger. Did she need any of them? Good for them for making some bank, but LOL. Insane that Francis was a bigger fave than Rousey. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, they both deserve to be big favorites, but I know what you mean. She can do that to Pena too. Ronda could do that right now in the UFC. She could beat people like that. I know people are like this is the thing. It's like the online fan base has gotten so broy, and then Ronda is so outspoken that there's just a natural clash. But like, I don't think she could be champion, but Ronda could win in the UFC again. She could win fights for sure. Better coach, Nixick or Tarverdian? I'm going to go with Nixick. You know what I'm saying? I think the evidence speaks to that. Is Dana laughing his ass off after the main event? He doesn't have animosity with Ronda. I think he's going to have a lot to say about the attendance. I think he's going to have a lot to say about what the numbers ultimately are if they fall short. So we'll see. But he's definitely going to get on some of their production stuff too. He might go after Ariel because he got a lot of airtime today, but who knows? I don't know. This ending was like 85-90% of Ronda's run. When I saw the takedown, I literally laughed out loud knowing what was coming. Yeah, it doesn't take long, does it, right? It's like, okay, well, if she can't get the takedown, she might be in trouble. But then if she gets the takedown immediately and then she immediately slides into mount, you're like, oh, okay. All right. Can't be surprised. Last time Gina fought, I was in high school. Now I'm salt and pepper haired. Brother, tell me about it. After this, I forgot how much I miss Mauro Ranallo calling MMA. I love Mauro. I'm always going to love Mauro. Pride and Strikeforce were memories that can't be beaten. True. Dude, you got to understand, Mauro has called boxing at the highest level, professional wrestling at the highest level, kickboxing at the highest level, MMA at the highest level, Pride. Like, who has done that? Who has done that? Mauro is the fucking king. For what MVP and Netflix were trying to do, that was bad outcome. Ronda did her job. No hate to her. But all that for 10 seconds, some didn't get a chance to tune in yet. MVP and Netflix can't be happy. I think if they had anybody in-house who did their due diligence, they had to know this was coming. Or at a bare minimum, highly likely. Highly likely. Let's see. Nikisa Badarian on the possibility of John Jones getting out of his UFC contract. Quote, I don't think it's very realistic because I don't think Dana is going to allow that to happen because they know it'll be the biggest fight that can happen in the heavyweight division in a very long time. He's right. It's not going to happen, and it's a waste of time to even consider as much. Thanks for the coverage, Luke. Thank you. Would Rousey Cyborg be competitive, or would Ronda get housed? I think she'd get housed. Cyborg is not what she once was, but she's much better than Ronda. Old Ronda fights could be watched OG IG 16-second vids. Dude, I did a whole we watched her entire UFC career on my Substack. The Jake Paul clown show lives on another day, he writes. Hunter Campbell wasn't wrong for passing as much as I hate the modern day UFC. Yeah, I mean, the reality is, like, does this fit well with UFC? No. But could UFC be doing a better job? Yeah. Yeah. Holloway is a bigger fave versus Conor than Ronda versus Gina. Really? That seems a little odd. Was Diaz versus Perry the only 50-50 fight? Yeah, or like, reasonably made fight. Yes. Also, I once had a dream I got arrested by you and the other guy, and in the dream, you were very supportive about it. Did you want to bang me in this dream? What happened here? 15-second win, making it her second fastest win. Yep. Colombian BBL level buns. That's a lot of buns. They got a lot of buns down there. Tyron Woodley openly telling John Jones to get Netflix to fund the legal costs against UFC was actually a fascinating point. No, it's not. It might even be illegal. Imagine the first major fighter lawsuit against the UFC being crowdfunded by a streaming company. Guys, is it my imagination, or isn't WWE on Netflix? Let me ask. Hold on. I mean, I don't keep up. Yes, it's like, dude, guys, they're in business with TKO. Why would they do that? Why would Tyron say something? I bet you the Netflix executives are probably pissed about that. Crazy how Ronda was teaching at the YMCA so close to my house before the greatness. Missed out on some gems. Combat sports is one of the few places where you can train with world-class people and with much greater ease than almost any other sport. The state of MMA is grim, barely watching anymore. I feel you. I feel you. Damn, Travis looking like Private Pile. Gina versus BC. Who you got? Probably Gina. Favorite Arby's order? I'd rather eat out of the dumpster. Luke, can you text BC and ask him how many beers for one of Nate's face abrasions? What does that mean? Like how? I don't know what you're asking exactly. Jake Paul and MVP deserve applause. They promoted well in general, I think. Francis looked ready for the Olympia stage as a 36-year-old white guy. How many lateral raises do I have to do to get those shoulders and face pulls? All of them, brother. All of them. The 17 seconds will bring more girls into MMA and judo. It's not going to do anything for MMA. Guys, MMA is kind of fucked, right? At least stateside, because if you do get young women to start training, they're going to go to the gym, and then they're going to encounter a lot of people who are either Strickland fans or Strickland adjacent, because that's a lot of what's happening. And then the culture is going to be a huge turnoff, and they're not going to want to do that. Or they're going to get online, and they're going to want to talk about MMA with their favorite places. And then they're going to realize the online fan base are largely hostile to women, and they're not going to want to stick around. You can't recruit women en masse to MMA anymore. You cannot do it. You can get some, sure, of course, yes, but you like you can't make a push into that anymore. You'll get stragglers, and that's it. Women are not going to want to stick around for that shit. You can't be shitty to women all the time, and then not you, sir, but like I'm saying, like we can't be shitty to women in this space all the time, which we are all the time, and then be like, oh, why aren't they? You know, will they want to come here and spend more time? No. The whole card reminded me of a 2005 Pride event with peak Fedor versus Zulu vibes. Yes, that's a pretty close comparison. Obviously, Pride was a big organization, but yes, and MVP is not. But Jake Paul versus CM Punk 2 don't have any interest. Nope, no thanks. Sadly, the UFC fights were more entertaining. I mean, they're realer fights for the most part, right? This message is brought to you by Ronda to win in less than 30 seconds with plus 2,000 odds. Easiest bet I've ever made in my life. Wow. Congrats. Odds for Gina Rousey were closer than odds for Justin Ilya. Justin has a better chance than that, right? I mean, you do have to understand the idea that they've both been off so long that odds makers were like, we don't know. But clearly they fucked that up. Why am I seeing JDS slimed out on my CPU, slimed out in my CPU in 2026? This card was actually dog shit, guys. Lens was 220 pounds. What the fuck? Whatever. Give me Francis versus Robelli's. I guess you could do it, but I don't really care about that because he's not going to strike it out with him. This event reminded me of an Elite XC card. Some fun fights, some interesting personalities, but feels unlikely they'll be able to sustain and build stars. Elite XC was also like they had a bunch of money up front to build an organization. I don't know what MVP is doing or Netflix. Would Netflix pay for a Francis headlined MVP MMA event? It would really depend on who it was with. It would really depend. If it's Jake Paul, maybe, you know. I'm not saying that I believe this, but my initial reaction to that finish was that they had prearranged agreement to let the fight finish that way. Gina with white belt mistakes. Gina made white belt mistakes because she's a white belt. Yeah. Guys, if you've ever there's people watching this, so I guarantee you know what I'm about to say is true. If you train, and even if you're good and maybe like a really good hobbyist, you win local tournaments. If you go up against someone world class, because if you go to New York City, you can go to like all the gyms up there, Unity and Marcelo's is going, I think, but you know, there's a bunch of good gyms up there. Any place, you know, go to 50-50, go roll with Ryan, even though Ryan's older, dude, they'll fuck you up real bad. Like you can't imagine how different it is. It's not like rolling with like, oh, like they're not much bigger than my training partners, blah, blah, blah. It's completely fucking different. Like they get their hands on you and you can feel it immediately. I've not rolled with too many world-class guys, but like I rolled with like Murillo Santana when he was in his prime. Dude, it was like, it was unlike anything I'd ever experienced in the training room before. It was shocking. And, you know, I think Murillo won no gi worlds, but never won in the gi. And he was like a brick wall. It was just insane. Like Ronda is that in the women's side, this on the grappling side. No, not on the striking, but on the grappling side. And Gina is basically a white belt. Like it's very believable that went that way. Luke Duho Choi with an amazing body shot KO. I know I'm going to check it out tomorrow. People always say Nate and Nick bleed easily from scar tissue. What the fuck does that actually mean? Scar tissue, it doesn't, the tensile strength of the flesh is weakened. It's easy to open up. And why don't other fighters have an issue to that degree? Because they don't get scarred up like that. I mean, like Fedor had the same problem. So if you get a bunch of scarring, it's easy for it to open back up or other areas nearby to open up. It's a problem. Luke, I'm sure many old school MMA fans don't want to see Gina go out like this. Can one more fight against Holly be possible? I think Holly might fuck her up too. Dude, Holly went into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. What are we talking about? Can Gina beat Holly? I don't think so. I mean, that would be closer, I guess, but I don't think so. Thoughts? Buenas noches. Tú también. All right. Netflix selling wolf tickets and people eating it up. Let them try. Can they try? Are they allowed to try? Ariel's knees and jaw are going to be sore. Okay. All right. Let's keep the jokes to a min. The only fight of real consequence tonight was Parnas being introduced to America. Diaz too, but okay, fair enough. The Parnas one was great. How would he look against some of the UFC top 10 of lightweight? I think he'd be very competitive with them. I think he's good. I think he's really good. But he still has some time to grow, you know? Thanks for the Donk Stream LT. The gummies have kicked in. I'm heading into deep space orbit like Project Hail Mary. Great movie. Loved it. Congrats. Thank you, sir, for the donation. Gina just took millions from Netflix to lose weight. I wish I could get that gig. Hey, here's $1 million. Lose weight. All right. Let's see. Gina, biggest loser winner. Biggest loser winner season 2026. Yeah, fair. Lim's making 100K is insane. How? Why would anyone fight Francis for anything less than 300K minimum? He might have some other money that's not publicly declared. That is possible, but I don't know. You'd have to ask him. It's not like these guys make a lot of great decisions, bro. Why can't things just be fun? I don't know, man. It's hard to have fun right now. I think the world's insane. It's a good question, though. Didn't it feel like Ronda would take at least one more fight given how she promoted it? Yes. I mean, she was clear that she was not going to keep this going, but yes. Went in on the UFC for what? I know, to just bounce. That to me, you can't have a sustained effort. I don't know, kind of just goes away. You've talked about the erasure of Ronda's legacy. How much of that is due to the right turn that the UFC took in recent years, i.e. the fandom is filled with more women haters than ever? It's partly just I think, again, I don't know if that's the full reason. I do think that there is a natural clash because the fan base has gotten broier, but the other part too is she's been gone a long time, and MMA fan turnover since the pandemic. There's just a lot of people who weren't around for what she did. They have to be told what it was like because they weren't there. And I know I'm bringing this up a lot. I just want to make a point. When people talk about the Phantom Menace, the Star Wars movie, and I know I hate on this movie more than anyone you know, in part because it's really bad. It's a very bad movie for dullards. But the point I want to make on this is that people will be like, this movie was well received at the time. No, it wasn't. I was 19 years old when this movie came out. I was so excited to go see it. The critics hated it. It was the butt of jokes on late night TV every single night for a year. Dude, people fucking hated that movie. Yes, there were Star Wars nerds that will just like Star Wars, and it kind of propelled it for that reason. They liked the sword battle. Darth Maul is cool. Okay, that's fine. It's a terrible movie, and it was widely panned, and people fucking hated it. In other words, people had just time. You'll experience this. Let me tell you the weird part about aging. You'll live through an event, and you'll have very vivid memories of it. And then 10 or 20 years later, people will talk about that event they know, who didn't live it, and they'll talk about it oh, it was definitely like this. No, the fuck it wasn't. And similar with Ronda, people were like, oh, no one ever compared it to Mike Tyson. Dude, everyone did. You can say that comparison didn't hold up over time. Okay, fine. It didn't hold up over time, but they made it. It happened. It was real. That was absolutely a thing. And so I just think that because there's been so much turnover, there's people who are just looking back at her record oh, she beat soccer moms and shit, and no one really cared, and da-da-da. Dude, it was a big fucking deal what she did. For this to work, MVP will need to build fighters from scratch or take UFC names or both. What UFC name could they realistically get to build around? I have no clue. Whoever the UFC lets go, and I don't even know who the fuck that would even be. Ronda's camp made easy money. In hindsight, this was an easy fight. Gina's 44, not top tier. Ronda got a last career win and can retire happily. That's what this is really all about, I think. That's this is the story. Shout out from Arlington. What's up? You down there at Spider Kelly's fucking having a good old time? Personally, I enjoyed this event more than any UFC card in a long time. Have you noticed Nate always seems off balance? He throws a lot of punches off balance. His footwork is kind of a mess. People hating on Ronda convinced themselves that Gina could win, and now claiming the fight was fixed is very funny. This was the best product of MVP, except everyone calling out Jake. Yes, I hated that part. Dude, I'm just going to say this very quickly. Okay? If you think that the main event is fixed, you don't know ball. You don't know ball. You clearly have never trained, which is fine. A lot of fans don't need to. That's not oh, because you've trained, you have this incredible wisdom. It is certainly valuable, but you can still say dumb shit having lots of training. That's absolutely true. However, it can be valuable, and it's pretty clear that value is missing from your assessment, among many other things. It is ludicrous to think that they did that. The easiest and simplest explanation is that Gina's not good. She's been off for 17 years. When she fought MMA, they had 3-minute fucking rounds. Ronda is a world-class athlete. Literally, not. What does it mean? What does it mean to be a world-class athlete? What does that mean? What does that mean? That means you have athletic pedigree and training such that you're able to compete at the elite world level, and you have athleticism. Not only do you have the technical expertise, you have athleticism on par with the demands of that very, very elite sector of the sport. Ronda is a world-class athlete. A world-class athlete. Gina was just on The Biggest Loser. Guys, if anyone out there has ever trained jiu-jitsu and you've come across somebody who was legit world class in that sport, you get turned into fucking fish bait by those people. I've told you guys this story a million times. I one time got to roll with a member of the judo team, the Olympic judo team from Mongolia. This guy was half my size and he bloodied my lip off an armbar, which he got on me. He submitted me. And his grip on my lapel felt like a fucking machine hydraulic press had closed it. I'd never seen a man that small, that strong. Never felt something like that ever. You don't understand how these people are. I'm telling you, clearly, you like the people who think this, no fucking way. This is what I mean. The dullards don't like Ronda. They've convinced themselves that she was never good, which is crazy. And she does what was the most expected thing here. And they're like, oh, this must have been fixed. You're an idiot. Someone clip this, put it on Twitter. If you think this is fixed, you're fucking stupid and your family talks shit about you behind your back. Okay? We'll move to Vegas. Easy bets tonight. Sometimes you get some windows, boys. Thoughts on vegan fighters? Who gives a shit? How much does it matter? I don't think it makes any difference at all. Well, at least there's not enough of a sample size to have an opinion. I feel like Diaz Bros' resumes would be more dominant if they had proper protein. I think you're reaching. Did you see Chris Lieben was a judge for the fight, one of the fights on Netflix? Yeah, he does it all the time. Any thoughts on retired fighters being judges? Like people think that because you fought, you're good at judging. You're not. They're two different skill sets. They can be useful in evaluating individual circumstances, having that training background, like who's winning, who's losing, what could matter here. But Chris Lieben's a good judge because he went through the training certification and he took it seriously and he added that skill. He brings his fighting skill to complement those skills, and that makes him interesting. But no. If sexuality is a spectrum, does that mean someone out there is the gayest? Yes, all of us for watching MMA. Thoughts on Michigan and New York suspending the betting? I'm hearing about it. I don't know what to say. I don't know. Left is best. Okay. Welcome to the party. If it were up to you, should Ronda make one last run? I would like to see her do one more. I think it's kind of shitty she did this. Not shitty, but like it's deflating. Deflating is the good way I would put that. Nothing in the world. Check out Turkish oil wrestling. It's the national sport. Yeah, that might be the gayest, but yes, I've seen it. Ronda is insane, but I feel like she'd run into a problem facing fighters like Dern and Jandiroba once she gets to the ground. Can her jiu-jitsu hang? They might have enough prevent defense to take that away from her. Yes, but could she get some wins in the top 10? I think she could. Yes, it's a fair point. This is a fair point, but I think she could do it. Were Francis and Tyron Woodley insulting John Jones's intellect? That's not that hard to do. But I don't know because I kind of muted. I'd have to go back and listen. Biggest what could have been fights. DC versus Brock. That would have been great, I guess. Nate versus Dustin. Yes. Jones versus Francis. Huge. And Tony Habib. Yeah. Those are all pretty good. Luke, I had a dream I was banging you. Well, that's sweet. All right. All that for 10 seconds. That's how your girl feels too. Sometimes. This card gave me Strikeforce vibes with Ronda, Morrow, Hexagon. That's so true. Also, the Diaz fight was deja vu when compared to Nick Diaz versus Lawler too. It did have It had like elevated Strikeforce vibes, but it had Strikeforce vibes. That's funny. People claiming a fix have never grappled a day in their life. You just have no fucking idea what you're looking at. Like, you have no fucking idea what you're looking at. Did you see Armin fight in the crowd again? No. I heard about it, but I haven't seen it. I don't know. Luke Thomas using Phantom Menace as the universal benchmark for a fundamentally flawed product will never stop being fun to me. It's a great benchmark for that kind of a thing. And again, it's just the thing that I want everyone to remember is if you had told me after that movie came out, that in 20 or how long has it been now? 20 plus years, that like there'd be a whole bunch of people who would like go to the mat for that. You'd be like, what? You couldn't even comprehend that. And dude, like life has a funny way where things just get reinterpreted later by the people who missed it or had a, in this case, it might have been children who watched it and they have like a more romantic attachment to it, which I can understand to a degree. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to point out, like, for people who miss live events they weren't around for, and time passes, and time I mean like 10 or so more years, like donks will just come around asserting how things were and who didn't live it and don't know what they're saying. And you can't believe it. I'm telling you, for young men out there, remember this moment. You are living through things now, and I don't know which one it is, that if in 20 years, some asshole is going to come around and be like, it wasn't that way. You're going to be like, dickhead, I was there. Like, who are you talking about? It's going to happen. It's happened in my life, to me and all my friends in numerous different ways, many times. Unpopular opinion: Ronda's judo has translated to MMA better than Kayla's. Yes. Thoughts on Moraes versus Nkuta finish, or Nakuda finish? So I hated this. Basically, Moraes is losing the round, but he manages to snatch the back off of an error that Pumi Nakuda makes, and he gets the rear naked choke. It's on, but the clock is ticking. There's like 7 seconds left. And what ends up happening is he goes out once they finally separate him. But if you go and you pay attention, he's grimacing Nakuda at the time the bell expires. And Moraes, I think he had a gable grip. He hangs on to the gable grip a little bit longer than he was supposed to, and then he kind of goes out. So you're like, oh, well, they're going to clearly tell that when the bell goes off, he's grimacing, which means he's like still there a little bit, and he held it longer. So by the time they separate the hands, that's not what you're looking for. Okay. Then they don't even do that. Then they say, at 4:59, he basically succumbed, but he didn't. He at 4:59, he was still grimacing. So it's like, of all, because if they say, oh yes, he went out, but like he was still alert by the time that the bell rings, he's grimacing, but he's still there, then it would have gone to the cards and Nakuda would have won. But then they said, oh, at 4:59, that we're just going to call it at 4:59, even though he didn't tap at 4:59, and it was still grimacing at 4:59. Like, it should have been. They got it all wrong, it seems to me. I mean, maybe I'm missing something about the rules, but like, I don't get it. Come on, Luke. We gave Jake Paul MVP chances in boxing, old fighters trash pacing, and they just brought that exact same garbage to MMA with awful fights. No more chances. Don't support this mess again. I think it was worth giving a shot to see what Netflix would do with this. I don't think that that's unfair. That it wasn't for you is fine. That's a reasonable interpretation. With the last UFC card and UFC 250 coming up, and not only Conor coming back, but that card is stacked, do you think the UFC heard all the critique at the beginning of the year and pivoted? No. It's lining up that they've got some assets that are working for them in this way, but they didn't change anything. They didn't start like stacking cards more than they would normally. I'm just saying that card is stacked. It's reasonably stacked. It's not like crazy stacked. This is just like some cards are going to be hot and some aren't. They're not going to have nothing but duds, but they didn't sign anybody. They didn't change any practice. Not really, no. I loved Star Wars: The Phantom Menace, mainly because of Darth Maul and the intense sword fights. I can confirm that movie was extremely hated. Thank you. That's all I'm saying. Listen, you want to like it? Fine. Life is short. But but what you can't say was that it was like, oh, people loved it when it came out. No, they didn't. People hated it. Any thoughts on no sponsorships? I don't quite get that for Ronda. I mentioned it when I was shooting. I don't think Gina had on, or maybe she had like one or something, but Ronda had none. I don't get it. I used to train BJJ, and a team of Brazilian black belts flew down to South Africa to roll with us. I've never felt so powerless in my life. It's insane. When you roll with world-class dudes and you're just a normal guy, and maybe you're you're in good shape, and maybe you're a black belt too, dude, I'm telling you, the best names I've ever rolled with are like Ryan Hall, Marilla Santana. Those are probably the two best, but like, and I've sparred with other people. Well, that's not true. There's some other ones you might not know, but those are two of the names you might recognize. Dude, it's like nothing you've ever seen. The gap is enormous. And for people hated Ronda, and they're trying to fit the world around that, rather than recognizing what the facts are and then changing how they interpret Ronda. All right, we're gonna do a couple more of these. We're gonna go. I was a freshman in '99. Manis was 100% hated. Yes, totally. All right, last one. Are you surprised Connor fight made post pay-per-view era? Dude, they were never going to let him go. They had to keep him busy. You know what I mean? They had to keep him busy. I get that the non-pay-per-view thing must make pay weird, but they had to keep him busy. Hi from Annandale. That's out there in Virginia. Luke, did you see the fresh stitches hanging from inside Nate's left arm? No. Looked like he had recent UCL surgery and came in injured. I don't know what I saw that black mark. I didn't know what that was. Again, what oversight is the commission doing anymore? I don't really know. Did you watch the new Mortal Kombat? I have not. Okay, we're not going to do a live chat. It's 1:30 in the morning and I want to go to bed. All right. So thank you all very much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'll have a post up or a video up tomorrow about Connor and UFC 329. We'll talk about that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for all the super chats. Thank you for your company. I know you have choices about where to spend your time. I appreciate you spending it with me. You can reach me, LukeThomasNews@gmail.com. And yeah, so there you go. MVP MMA #1. Kind of weird. All right. We'll call it a day. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you later. Peace. Let's do this.